Welcome back, everyone, to the final of finals.
Let's go. Dude, I jumped, bro. I totally forgot what I was even just talking about.
How you doing, everybody? My absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks for joining us.
And Eddie Eccles.
Let me know if you guys can hear everything well.
40,000. We've just had an absolute blitzer of a game, such an awesome final. We are now into the rematch, and this really is the game to decide the champion of champions of Warhammer 40,000.
Let's go.
Rematch. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Some of the turns unfolding here on turn 1 of the game. We're going to jump into the coverage right now, get you back, get you caught up, and see what's happening.
If you joined us for the previous game, and I'm truly hopeful that you did.
I did.
It's one of the moments of all time.
I did.
In fact, in all of miniature wargaming.
I know.
Behind on every metric going into the last round, and the bottom of turn 5, I gave him about a 2% chance in that game.
Needed a perfect turn. Needed a perfect turn.
He found a line that would result in a draw, and there was a draw on these metrics results in a 6th turn. There can be no draws.
Would have been a sudden death 6th turn is what they would have done, based only on primary, no secondary flips, and so.
From the models that was available for Manny Chima at the end of the game, would have been impossible for him to score more points than John. They ended the game 83-83 because John Lennon made an 11-inch charge. Well, sorry.
He rolled double sixes, bro.
He made a 12, even didn't need to.
And he did it again.
Yeah, exactly right. And then needing to do 7 wounds to a Rhino in order to level the game with 15 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 6s.
Basically with power swords, essentially.
1 got through. Take him down to 6, take the round down to 6 wounds remaining, and then 12 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounding on 5s, needing to get 3 through, and exactly that happened, resulting in a drawed round for John Lennon. The most unlikely of unlikelies, a miracle in Atlanta has occurred, and we're into a 3rd and final round between these two great gentlemen and players. And
the miracle on Peachtree Street.
That actually has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like it. Just for those of you who have been also following the Age of Sigmar coverage this weekend, the Age of Sigmar game, which we were kind of half following as we followed the 40k stream, is being streamed on the French Wargaming channel. But the first round, which was between sorry.
That's about as big as I'm gonna make it, so you can still see in my hands here. If you guys want this to go full screen, it will.
Some really big plays there, so they've re-stacked up, they're rematching. That game is also ongoing, so we'll bring you the news from that game there. But nobody here at the championship for either Warhammer Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40,000 has won every single one of their games, which means we are into the suddenest of death of all the finals, and we are looking for 2 world champions here for Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000. And Warhammer 40,000 is a game we're bringing you.
We already have 2 champions. The champion from the Kill Team has just been decided.
Kill Team.
Hailing from my great nation of Australia. Very proud of that result, and well done to them.
Oh.
Everyone who's helped and supported them to get
Australia.
one with a cultist.
Yeah, Chaos
Force?
Cultists carried the day for Kill Team.
Really?
Cultist on cultist.
Absolutely.
Yes,
a lot of cultists kicking around at this championship. Cultists versus cultists in the final of Kill Team.
Oh.
Australia carried the day there. So, yeah, still all to play.
Cultists for the win.
Up on this table over here.
We gotta build the cultists, guys.
Fixed objectives, cleanse and deploy teleport homers. John in his first turn here.
We gotta build cultists now, guys.
Assassination as his secondary objectives.
You already know.
Does not feel confident in those flips.
It is going to be really spicy. This mission is slightly the same and slightly different from the one we showed you previously. A different mission rule and different deployment. As you can see, take and hold being the primary, which we had in the previous round. So in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th battle round, you can score up to 50 points depending on how many objectives you are holding. So 1 for each. Now there are 6 objectives in this mission, of course. Sorry, finishing that off in the 5th battle round. The person who's going 2nd will score at the end of the game rather than at the start or the end of their command phase. Hidden supplies. You set up 1 additional objective marker of No Man's Land, unless the chosen battlefield missions rule is also in effect. Before setting up this new objective marker, players must first move the objective marker in the center of the table battlefield 6 inches directly towards one of the corners.
You did?
And then you place.
Let's go.
This is hammer and anvil deployment, of course, playing on the short edges, going very deep, which is good and bad for both players. The number of objectives, I believe, is kind of middle of the ground. It forces John to commit to the middle of the table and get in and stuck in early, which is what Matty wants while he still has a lot of resources. But the depth of the deployment zones...
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
John, he has so many redeploy shenanigans, so many running from reserve shenanigans. He can really start stretching the resource game and start to take chunk out of these big accursed cultist units on his terms.
Let's talk about some of that commitment we were talking about. Now, we didn't see the aggressors in Marneus, Calgar, and some of the other units not really push out of their, I'll say their hidey hole, but their secured position until much later in the game. Do you think in any way is that going to influence what he does now and how he approaches the game and plays those models.
I think last game was really interesting from both players because I mean fundamentally neither of them really made a mistake, right?
No.
Like the game was actually decided by two players at the top of their game making absolutely the right decision every time, and just occasionally the dice just threw the game at a skewed angle.
Yeah.
Things like those Inceptors dropping down and accidentally blowing themselves up, things like
Yes.
failed battle shock tests, extremely long charge rolls, failed very short range double charge rolls, that
Yep.
sort of thing. So it really did come down to the dice sometimes deal you a bad hand.
Exactly
How
right.
can you react to
Well,
it?
spot on. When two people play a perfect game of 40k, small instances of variance one way or another that can be capitalized on can be all the difference. Exactly to your point. 6 Inceptors dropped down in that game onto an objective. They did blow up and kill a unit of Chosen. And then with the hazardous roll, 4 of them died.
Oh,
And not
that
only
was
did
rough.
4 of them die, the remaining 2 failed their battle shock to take the objective, which was a huge swing.
It's caused a 5-point deficit against John Lennon, and so in all reality, it could have been 88 to 83 in
But
his
there
favour.
was also plenty of
same result though.
Yeah, plenty of moments as well where it could have gone the other way. There were some very significant charges from some
Absolutely.
chosen units that were very close, failed their charge. Some big units of cultists failed some very short-range charges as well for the Chaos. So both players going into this may be thinking that they're owed some dice rolls.
There was some exceptionally good skill expressions in that game also. Manny Chima reading the tail of the tape and knowing that if he has a Rhino alive when his opponent has to bring it down, it's just another way of getting ahead and making sure he stays ahead in that game. In all honesty, using a command point with that as a premium usage in the Node stratagem and some other bits and pieces, the full force of wound, to put stealth on a Rhino that is being looked at by 6 Devastator Centurions, I was pretty sure was a waste of a command point. And I was absolutely incorrect.
Turns out everything was getting thrown at that Rhino. Scouts punching, grenades, las cannons, you name it, bolter fire, power swords. In this game, coming back to this one, Manny has gone first again. Manny, after he rolled that, went to go first. He looked over and said, can I just go second once? He believes that his strategy would be having the bottom of the turn instead of the top. Now, and on the other side of that, John has gone second basically every game he's played in this scenario here and had to come back from behind.
He has played against Chaos Space Marines 5 out of 12 rounds of this event.
Space Marines going first.
Apart from one, which is debatable, he has won 4 of those unequivocally.
But 3 of them have been this game.
3 of them have been, and all of them have been done by playing second. He's played Chaos Space Marines 5 times and gone second 5 times.
He's very familiar with how to play into this army
exactly
at
right.
this
So
point.
technically, they played this game 3 times, but John has 2 additional reps into this matchup in the position he's currently in right now.
He's killed about 100 Chaos Chosen.
Wait, it don't look like he's going. Space Marines are going first.
All of them.
So he
Is it worth running through the list a little bit, maybe?
Yeah,
just
by
for
all
It's
the
like a
means.
video game at this point, just as they rack them up, take them down. But yes,
He's
absolutely.
got another life.
If you were just joining us, we're coming to you live from Atlanta for the World Championships.
Oh, Atlanta.
Warhammer 40,000. These are the same players you've seen before, the same list. But if you're just joining us, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And let's see what they got.
Yeah, so absolutely. So we'll roll through this fairly quickly because we have seen these armies before.
Yo, if they play in New York, guys, I'll meet up with you guys in New York if you guys trying to play.
All the time. So on one side, the
Whenever they
Space
have one of
Marines
these huge
piloted by
conventions.
John Lennon. This is an Ultramarines force with Vanguard Spearhead detachment. That gives them loads of great stratagems to bounce around the battlefield and do fun stuff. A few extra ones in there to give them additional damage. There's an Apothecary Biologist and Marnius Calgar and a big squad of aggressors, and that is like the strongest combat punch in this army.
We'll unpack that unit a bit because there's a lot going on
Yeah,
there.
we got Uriel Ventress, is a Space Marine captain who gives you Deep Strike on one of your units, and he is in a Company Heroes command squad. The Deep Strike ability has gone onto a unit of Centurion Devastators, which is particularly efficient in this Vanguard detachment. And then elsewhere, he's got lots of utility stuff into this. There's 2 little units of Eradicators, which are your Melter Gun anti-tank units. There's 3 units of Inceptors, 2 big ones with Plasma and 1 smaller one with Bolt. And they are very efficient at kind of dropping in and removing problem units. They're very difficult to screen against because they can drop in 3 or more inches away. And then to
Meteoric descent.
round the unit out, you've got your objective-taking crew in the form of 3 units of Scouts and 1 Calidus Assassin.
Oh,
Flexible, very deadly, very janky. John has been giving his opponents full breakdowns of what his army can do because he said, I love how flexible this army is, but unfortunately there's a couple of things that if you don't know they're coming, they can be perceived as feel-bads at moments. You know, the running away stratagem when a charge is declared against you, the going into reserve and arriving via deep strike, again, unawares to your opponent. So John has been very good. Of course, Manny cannot be caught unawares at this point. Actually, if Manny is caught unawares at this point, that's on him.
Well,
He's played
wow, he's telling people the combos he's gonna use, and he's still winning.
Right here, he's actually trying to move it right now to prevent.
That's like the most boss thing I've ever heard in my life.
The newest edition of Warhammer.
Yeah, guys, my
that allows you to
my army's gonna do this, this, and this.
step.
Just so you know.
Also be something you can do with the meteoric descent, meaning you can bring Inceptors down 3 inches away
steal the objective.
on this objective. And so what he's trying to do as best he possibly can is get that Rhino up there to assist with the block, and some Legionaries are getting out.
So he is using 2 units of Chosen very early here, one being invested to knock out the Scouts, the other one possibly making...
I believe that those are Legionaries.
sorry,
so
probably
those are
Legionaries.
not the bestial Chosen. They are just your normal, average, run-of-the-mill Chaos Space Marines.
They're just regular old 10,000-year veterans.
Yeah. Well, this is what they're for. This is why they're in the list. And Manny has 3 units of them, each one of them usually in a Rhino accompanied with a unit of 5 Chosen. I can only assume the last one is under the American flag.
I think it is there. Getting itself cover from the Stars and Stripes at the bottom of the battlefield there.
Yes.
And a blanket of freedom.
Yeah. Let's roll through the Chaos list just quickly before we see it pop into those Rhinos. So there is a lot of redundancy in this list, a lot of choices of 3. There are 3 Chaos Lords, all of those guys with Demon Hammers and Plasma Pistols. There are 3 Dark Communes. There are 3 squads of Legionaries. There are 3 Chaos Rhinos. There are 3 units of...
Yeah, guys, the link to this game is in the description, just so you know.
...of Chosen, and there is 1 Forge Fiend. And most importantly of all, a little unit of Nurglings.
Little unit of Nurglings. This is Manny 101. Manny is renowned for the sorry.
Yeah, let me hit this interaction right here. So these Legionaries did move up. They were going to have a 2-inch charge on the Scouts here, but using the feint that's available to him through his detachment, he has scooted back a bit. That's why you saw that out-of-phase movement to extend the length of that charge.
No, so I believe that's to extend the length of the charge. That's to guarantee that if they do make the charge, they cannot be safe. It's possible for them to be safe from reprisal, because if they made that charge there on that objective, they could sit very well, be very hard to see. Whereas right now they come in, they charge here. Definitely anything could just walk out of these.
Great spot on that.
These pieces and just pick them up with absolute impunity, and most likely they won't be in cover.
That's a phenomenal ability, isn't it? So it's
so
the ability
powerful
to just bounce yourself out of a charge range, because effectively what you're doing if you're moving straight back is turning what was going to be a 2d6 charge to a...
I just broke the wrong sprue.
Yes, 2d6 minus d6.
Yeah.
1d6.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that actually doesn't work.
The math. We'll check the math on that. We'll divide the...
dice are rolled, mistakes were made, people charged.
Math's hard. It's game 12.
So it is the end of the movement phase. John is contemplating the rapid ingress right now. Manny was also talking about...
Oh, rapid ingress.
If he gets super aggressive, does he think he can box John out on any primary? That's at least... Now, we can try to look and see if it was even possible here.
I think it's very hard against this Space Marine army, right? Because they've got so many things that could just jump off the battlefield and jump back down again. It's such a flexible Space Marine army, and one of the reasons he's been doing so well with it is that every single turn effectively is able to bring all of his best firepower to bear pretty much wherever he wants, unless you've been very, very careful at screening out. And even if you have been careful, most armies just don't have the troops, they don't have the manpower on the battlefield to advance and screen their backfield.
So I call this the...
Peace out, Buck.
So, like I said, this...
Thank you, Buck. Have fun with the Axis of Faith box, man. We'll be building together.
The
painting
zones are so deep that Manny has to constantly stream units back to stop jumping in behind him and disrupting all of his plans.
Yeah, just string them out.
Due to that, he can really only project very, very carefully up the table. There's only a certain amount of inches that you can go forwards before you have to start picking up and moving the backwards units up as well. Due to that, John can kind of be a little cavalier in the firing lanes. But I believe what Manny wants to do is control this side of the table. So he wants to control this objective, and then contest this one. He wants to be trading 5s for 15s for at least 2 turns. And in doing that, he may get into an unassailable position, which is why he's probably key.
What does unassailable position mean?
He's ice cold and consistent, whereas John's is
there
variable.
are no ingresses happening right now. The Rhinos are doing the cleanse. Legionaries are doing the dark path to try to get into the Scouts. He actually...
Oh, this is turn 2. Turn 1 already happened?
You know, that's a vicious thing. Yeah. It was kind of a fluke last round when there weren't many moves from dark packs.
So this is one of the Chaos Space Marines units there that's kind of stretching into that combat, isn't it?
Yeah, they're going in there. There's a unit of Scouts above, and they're going to try, above the aggressors, they're going to try and pop them.
And we know that John's been making great use of these units like the Scouts, so he'll be very aware that this unit is often used to kind of zip round, block entrances. We saw it used to great effect against the Eldar much earlier this tournament.
The only thing to fear here is that there is the possibility that is a heroic intervention by John.
Guys, what do you guys think about opening up the
Japan going, the unit aggressors are right here within this room.
The chat for
if they don't get
Twitch.
charge, because the heroic intervention out here, which essentially is almost a pseudo rapid ingress, then through the addition of possibly eradicators coming in behind or in front, this Rhino could be popped and the units inside feasted upon.
We had a question also about the terrain here. If they just come in here, like, what is the footprint in the terrain? From this camera angle, it kind of illustrates what you're probably
see quite
seeing.
well on that one of the objectives at the top of the battlefield.
Like that?
Yeah, so we're here.
Do you guys like seeing the chat over there? If not, let me know. I'll switch it back.
The full effect of the ruins there here. So anything that would be blocking line of sight, like being on the other side of this, not actually in the terrain, or this over here, we get the full obscurement. Those are the types of things that are more creating lines of fire or staging grounds for units. Adds a ease of play and utility for both players, giving it hopefully an even play experience for both sides of the table.
Yes, spot on. This system gives a lot of flexibility to people, especially at home getting into the game. I know personally, when I was first starting the game, I would work my butt off for my pocket money, and I had the choice to buy terrain or buy miniatures, and miniatures won every single time. So most of the times when the terrain I had was empty soft drink cans or pop cans stuck together, sprayed grey.
Yeah, of the
upside
garbage
down.
planet, of course. I think all childhood games of
It's,
Warhammer happened on the garbage planet.
So there, you know styrofoam?
Garbage planet.
Tell us more.
I don't know if this is with every rattle can spray, but if you sprayed it with styrofoam, it would dissolve.
Very
and become
satisfyingly and look kind of ruiny. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that would be all my craters and all my little bits and pieces, and then some forests as well.
So fun.
You'd be looking out for your parents to buy a new TV so you could steal all the styrofoam.
Harvest the styrofoam.
But the terrain, basically the third player in the game here. But when you can see from this angle too, the illustration of the glass there. That footprint is what the players will be either trying to hug up, be on one side or the other, use like I said as those staging grounds, or to prevent line of sight, or to charge through, or be an obstacle. Those are all things that are going to consider there. But that's why you're seeing it the way it is. Players can also remove the terrain off that to get better measurements without having to disrupt the footprint of it.
So I'm of the opinion that unlike previous matchups that we've seen John play Chaos Space Marines, he can't kind of wait till turn 4 like we've seen him do. Because of the shallow width of this board, one unit of a Cursed Cultist can get in the way and body block him off a huge amount of points. So he kind of needs to get working early, otherwise he might just be tar-pitted and roadblocked out of scoring.
That coin you see there, that gold coin, that challenge coin, is one of the coins from the event. That is what John Lennon is using for his Oath of the Moment notification. So if you see that next to a unit, that means the Space Marines have applied their Oath of the Moment. Oath of the Moment is a very powerful Space Marine ability that allows them to reroll hits against the designated unit. That unit can be anywhere on the table. The Space Marine player nominates that unit from whenever they want. And then if they are able to engage it, get that reroll hits.
It looks like he is very close to being engagement range of the unit of aggressors here. So
really?
Just exists right there, but then directly behind them. So a heroic intervention would almost certainly get into that unit. And
that is what Manny has realized, by the way. He's realizing that it's possible for the other squad to heroically intervene and use it to get into the objective the Rhino is sitting on. So, so they confirmed that it's possible. Manny intends to reroll the charge, so he fails.
That stinks.
Oh, wow, so that is so tactically sound. So who would have thought there that you could use a reroll to try and fail, because it's now not advantageous for you to pass. That is quite cute there.
So a mistake there, really, on the part, on the part
Yeah.
there, deciding to make a charge, maybe not seeing that unit. And I think these guys have been playing very high-level 40k for a very long time. This has been a very long tournament.
36 hours.
There is an endurance factor in this game as well. These guys will have been playing almost non-stop for every waking hour of the last 4 days. So
legitimately, Manny most likely just at some point needed to walk around and just have a look at the logistics of that charge. Obviously, he may have rolled too high, because we know the first move you make on your charge roll is the distance that you have rolled, and if you roll high enough to get within base contact of the model you have declared, you must make it, and therefore he may have been drawn a little bit closer than he thought he would have otherwise. And so you can, and I do like this change in the game, because it means that the change to heroic intervention is very, very iffy. You've got to always take it into account.
Yeah, it also means that you're not actually fully in control of your unit when it charges. You're almost got to represent. Yeah, you're almost representing the general, being like, you should charge that unit, and they're like, let's go, boys. And you're like, oh no, wait, if you could just tactically, no, wait, come back. So
Paul's not in control of anything.
Charging is dangerous and unpredictable. But I also want to point out the command reroll says, you reroll that roll, test, or saving throw has nothing to do with success or failure. That is definitely a valid tactic. And if you catch yourself into a position
absolutely
like that.
use it to kill your models. If the enemies, shoot to one of your units that they're hoping to charge later on, you could use it to fail a save on purpose.
Heroic intervention is not a sure thing anymore either, by the way. So if he were to use the heroic intervention stratagem, he would still also have to roll the distance of that charge. It's not just a move of a specific number anymore.
I think if you look at what he's trying to do now with that Space Marine, Chaos Space Marine unit, he's trying to move them forward in such a way that he boxes out the heroic intervention, so that if they do decide to heroically intervene, there's less of distance they can drag themselves
exactly right, because the heroic intervention is a 2d6 roll, and that's as far as you can do. And if you get within engage range of the opponent with that 2d6 roll, you have successfully heroically intervened. Now, what happens there is what he's trying to stop is because you had units up here previously, he could heroic intervene there and then move out the 2d6, possibly getting close enough to contest his objective, whilst also pivoting around. He could swing around the whole unit in this direction, and then once they're there, they could totally break into here with an advance and charge from Manius Calgar, possibly picking up 2 squads. And really changing.
Big, couldn't it?
So
really big.
The person you see measuring right there is head judge Justin Curtis. There's some questions here, but there actually is no question that the dice have been rolled. They're seeing what the distance is, and the judge is measuring out to make sure to see who can get in, who can't, and what the distance it has to be.
Really.
So it's as requested by both players. The judge is just doing the movements for him. No shame in that.
So he needs to be within 2.9 inches of the objective after the heroic intervention has occurred. Although there is a pile-in, but with the heroic intervention, it's the same as a charge. You must base if you can, I believe.
Yep. So if he can get close enough to the objective to kind of crawl his way towards the objective, when that combat comes, he'll be able, after he's defeated them, he'll be able to kind of move in.
Correct.
So that could be really significant.
So the pile-in and consolidate is also one of those things that has very specific conditions. After the combat is over, you can only move your models if you satisfy a couple of those conditions. Or either of those conditions.
Spot it on. So he comes around the back here with that. He kills the unit. Obviously, he's very much going to kill the unit. And then if he's able to consolidate on the objective, he would get 5 for this objective and 5 for this objective rather than the only 5 he's going to get now. Then Manius Calgar gives that unit advance and charge. He can
absolutely where they want to be, or they could just fall back again.
So I'm not so sure he wants to go for this blob. What I think he wants to do is he wants to move up the back here, shoot, annihilate the accursed cultists, and stay there.
Crack the rhino. Krill the crunchy interior.
Do you see how close the rhino is to the table edge? You surround the rhino, crack it, kill the unit inside, without them having to getting to fight. And then if anybody wants to come, and challenge you on it, they have to come into the firing lane to do so. You can definitely put the Devastated Centurions in this position, and they can blow up anything that tries to mess with you from there. You can even support them. The Devastated Centurions could go into reserve right now and be deployed in support of that play. So there is a huge playbook available once this heroic intervention has been enacted.
Do we think there's a shot behind that as well? Could you put your Centurions over here to shoot it?
Yes, yeah, totally could. Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea of the Dev Sense coming in behind the Rhino, but I don't.
Okay, hang on. I'm going to get an update from the table.
So Justin Curtis is rocking over. Yes. So Justin Curtis is explaining quite detail. John is a champion, is what we're hearing right now. Because it could have been game ending right there.
Well, did y'all catch that?
We didn't. It was just Phil Simple.
Yes, I heard a little bit of it.
So the back and forth there is what's happened. So what John explained the interaction of heroic intervention and what could possibly happen if that was successfully made the charge to Manny after Manny had already declared the charge. Manny then decided he was going to go through with the charge, but also try to reroll to fail it. He didn't. He actually made the charge twice in a row, and then they were doing some measurements about if they could figure out how to move around the Legionaries. John then came across the side of the table, had a chat with Manny, and said, look, since we didn't talk about the interaction beforehand, I'm going to let you take the charge back.
Take the charge back. We'll pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I may be like, you spent the CP, but take the charge back. That is the cost.
I don't even think that happened, but
I don't think it happened either. I think John was completely
I think incredible
totally
sportsmanship there from John.
Yes.
Absolutely. What a hero.
Unnecessarily kind at this point, and showing his class and caliber for all to see. Thank you very much, John. You've enhanced all of us.
So head judge Justin came over and explained that to me. I hope explain that to y'all. So that's why you saw the models do the little dance they did on the tabletop there.
Yes, John is putting on a clinic of being a gentleman. That is absolutely correct. And if you know the boy king, you know that is the way he operates. So Okay, so no super crazy interactions are going to happen. The charge is going to occur from the Legionaries here into the Scouts. If
I
they
would have
make it,
just
it is quite likely, or
hit the
it's
thing
50-50,
and won the game.
It all relies on the heavy melee weapons, and if they kind of pop off or not.
Yeah, so you've got heavy melee weapons in that unit of the Legionaries. They're actually pretty good in close combat. They've got the basic Chaos Space Marines. We've got chainsaws, which aren't too shabby, but the heavy melee weapons is really what makes them killy. Just have a quick look at those stats. I'm pretty sure it's strength 8, -2 AP, 2 damage.
While you're looking that up, I
So
want to remind
the
everybody.
feint strat has been enacted. John is running away with the Scouts. Like I said, he's going to draw them in closer, and there could be another heroic intervention situation.
Yeah.
You got that, Eddie?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got the stats here. So I started chainsaws, 4 attacks. Hit on 3, strength 4, -1 AP. But the heavy melee weapons, there's 6 attacks from those coming out of that unit. 3s to hit, strength 8, -2. And they alone almost can take the scout squad out.
Yes, exactly right.
So we are here at the World Championships of Warhammer. We're watching England versus the USA, but it is over 40 countries were represented here. If you were rooting for any of those, let us know where you are tuning in from. If you're just here to see the game, see the finals, you're rooting for the Ultramarines, you're rooting for chaos, rooting for the players, rooting for a specific nation to see how the overall standings shake out. Because after this, after all the results are in from the game systems, Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warhammer Underworlds, and Warhammer 40,000, we will be crowning champions of Warhammer for the Worlds. Here we go. Where are you tuning in from? Let us know.
After we have seen the ending of the top of turn 2, I think we should go to the leaderboard. But after we've seen this charge enacted, what could possibly happen. So the feint stratagem has been enacted, I believe. That dice delineates the furthest away scout and where he will upon where he will end.
Scouts, of course, don't need to roll that dice. They just get to go 6.
Now, he's choosing not to go directly away. He could go directly away and make that a 9-inch charge. He's choosing to go towards his payload of melee goodness in order to draw them off, essentially to draw them off the objective.
Well, he's moving away from the objective, effectively, isn't he? So that if they do make that charge, it's going to be very difficult for them to kind of be in an advantageous position.
And also, like I said, it actually opens up another heroic intervention.
Look,
just to make things fun.
I'm sure that the chips are going to fall where they may. Had a question about what's in reserves too. Yeah, Manny does have a Forge Fiend in reserves, and I think he has lots of stuff deployed in Rhinos, but the Forge Fiend is off the table at the moment.
We talked a little bit last game about the aggressor unit kind of staying a long way back and kind of what his plan was. And actually, I wonder if that's part of John's kind of game book that we haven't really seen play yet, which is put those scouts up as kind of tempting targets and then pull them back towards your unit when the enemy starts to kind of make charges, and then heroically intervene into charges that previously didn't look like they were possible.
Yes, exactly right. We've just been informed that Manny is not declaring this charge.
No charges. No. Yeah.
Having known now that they will automatically move 6 inches away, and then he could, well, if he rolls high enough, he has to base here. Well, what you just tried to stop, you just double unlocked, because he can take the objective back off them by piling into the unit, killing them, and then consolidating on the objective. And either way, John's going to go and get a 10. So right now, the most damage he can do to John's scoreline is to not declare either charge.
Callous Assassin being airlifted off. That seems to be the standard operating procedure for John.
Wow.
I'm going to wander over to the Age of Sigmar game to see if there's any nuggets of information there.
So the end of turn 5 score was a draw. For people in chat who are wondering what happened in the previous one, but there are no draws in the final round at the World Championships
There is
of Warhammer.
a provision for a tie game, or what you do in a tie result at the end of round 5 in the tournament packet that all the players were informed of and aware of before the tournament even started, not necessarily that game. And what the conditions of that draw were that you'd play a 6th turn where you only score the primary. John had the dominant position at that point in time on the table, largely because of the discipline and him holding things back, like we saw him play with many large units, aggressors, Marnius Calgar, Devastator Centurions.
Correct. Now, I am interested to know if anything is going into Strategic Reserve with the stratagem from the Vanguard Task Force. I don't believe it was being informed by, so I believe we've been informed by our table boss. In fact, I can see most of the back end of the table now in John's deployment zone. He definitely has not put the the Devastators into reserve.
John's just deciding if he wants to do any lifts at the end of
So he's deciding that now. He's putting out I think he is dropping himself down.
This is the rapid ingress.
Yeah.
This is
so it's the Vanguard strategy to return to the shadows, essentially.
Yep.
That's what I thought. I'd be crazy not to make use of the Centurions in this game. They are so potent. And, of course, he doesn't really mind taking the hit on the CP because Marnius Calgar goes in 2 at the top of each one of his turns.
That's a great point. Both these players are just racking up the command points.
And in all honesty, John has done more by threatening to use his command points already than he has by actually using them. Threatening to heroically intervene, threatening to faint away, and now he will be arriving from reserve with a deluge of units should he wish.
I thought we might see something creeping on here, but no, that's a great spot.
Hopefully you are joining us in chat and enjoying the absolute everything out of this game.
I mean, what a tale here. This has been amazing
this is a story.
games across. This is our 12th game of Warhammer
12th game of
40,000.
Warhammer, baby.
And I mean, well, if you also count the Age of Sigmar games as well, a whole lot of Warhammer over the course of the weekend.
Yep.
There are hundreds of players here that have come to compete for their nations, and also the grand narrative happening one room over that's also going to be concluding tonight. Like, what a time to be in Atlanta. What a time to be a Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer in general fan.
We'll jump over and have a look at the overall scoreboard in a moment, but the secondaries for John Lennon is Storm Hostile Objective and Bring It Down, both of which I believe are very scoreable. Storm Hostile is just taking one off your opponent, I believe, or it's taking two off your opponent. No, it's taking one off your opponent, and which is he's going to have to do here if he wants to score primary. He's going to have to do here if he doesn't get a charge by Chosen, and he's going to have to do here if he just doesn't want to lose the game. So he's going to have to get the points there, and Bring It Down incentivizes going for one of the units of Chosen in addition. But Eddie has just gone for a quick stroll around the tables. What do you see, mate?
Yeah, so I think we've got a pretty good grip on what's happening in the Warhammer 40,000 game. We obviously now have only 2 games left, Warhammer 40,000 and the Warhammer Age of Sigmar game that's happening just a few tables over. This is they've restacked up and they're refighting a slightly different mission, which is Lumineth versus Skaven. The battle plan that there's been drawn looks like it mildly favors the Lumineth in this particular matchup because it's about getting wizards onto certain parts of the battlefield, and the Skaven have less of them, basically. Antorian Locusts, there just aren't as many in that army. So there's a mild advantage to the Lumineth, but not huge. The Skaven is still quite castled up. You can see that bell wall kind of rolling towards the Lumineth.
Wall, that's right. Look at it.
But they'll both be very familiar now with each other's armies because they were played at they've played 3 times. The third game, much like the game we've got on the stream right now for 40k. This is the 3rd time these guys have fought. It is 1-1, I think, currently. It is indeed. Which is quite interesting.
I love this. This is the battle of the ditch, or the battle of the. What do you call the sea between France and the UK?
The Channel?
The Channel. The Battle of the Channel.
Yeah.
I cooked that call, but anyway, there's a Frenchman on the right, Englishman on the left. They're fighting for who will take it all. Both players having a loss against each other, and both players having a loss in general, meaning just like the table we are watching here, no one has managed to go through this event, either event, truly undefeated. That's which I think is a testament to the system
skill, the power level, the acumen of all the players here in attendance across all the game systems. This is the best they've won their opportunity.
The balance of the game.
From winning tournaments, winning events in their countries and coming here to play. Got a question in the chat here. Is that how do the Chaos Space Marines keep getting on all the objectives? Are they just that fast? What is going on?
They keep going first.
Well, that is something that, and also I will say that's, again, we mentioned how Manny was actually lamenting that. He's like, I just really want to go second to get that bottom of turn advantage.
I mean, the main thing that's happening here really is that you start in your deployment zone about there. The Chaos Space Marines have these rhinos, which are your transports, and they're just kind of moving forward in their first turn, and then the second turn they're kind of piling out, trying to get towards the Space Marine forces. Quite an aggressive early move from a lot of the Chaos Space Marines, a little bit more aggressive maybe than we have seen in the previous game, and that's mostly dictated by the shape of the battlefield.
Yeah.
If you are coming back from previous editions, there maybe is some things we could explain about how movement and everything works, but there's also the deployment here is what we call the hammer and anvil. So it's like something along the lines of like, oh, well, I just moved my hand, but it's something along the lines like this big column here in the middle that's only a short distance away where these objectives are. So they do things like move and advance, which gives them an extra d6 of movement. They can deploy out of those rhinos, which gives them a certain distance around the rhino and then complete their movement. And then also advance if they wanted to. So there's kind of ways to get some burst movement out of your units.
And the Chaos Chosen particularly can advance and charge in the same turn. So what you tend to find, the play really with those units is you push the rhinos forward very fast on the first turn. You get the places where the enemy can't draw a bead on more than maybe one rhino. One of them is kind of safe if you want to, using that kind of Nurgle stratagem. Yeah. And then in the second turn you go, right, I am in position now, and they can reach out an awful long way with those Chaos Chosen units because they can disembark, they can move, they can advance, they can charge, they go an awful long way.
Exactly right.
So the moment on those Legionaries.
They can project a lot of threat. Legionaries getting Oath at the moment. John is looking like he's being pretty stable here. I hope he doesn't mistime his run, but he does need to wait and patiently get some more resources committed. by Manny before he can try and break back. Like I said, there's the battle. There's the mini game here of the battle of the utility units. That being the battle between the small unit of Inceptors and Eradicators and Scouts by John versus essentially just the Legionaries by Manny and Nurglings. In the previous game, John won the utility battle comprehensively, and I believe he's going to try and do the same here. As you can see, he's moving in such a way that he's placed the Forge Fiend to see where it could arrive, and he's placing his scouts in such a mean.
That was the stunt Forge Fiend?
Sorry?
That was the stunt
The
Forge
stunt
Fiend?
Forge Fiend,
Yeah.
indeed. In such a way to block off its best lanes of fire. But he's still being quite passive, which I think is fine.
So this is actually important to measure out here, is that he's measured out his screening. This is the lost art of screening in Warhammer 40,000. It's coming back, everybody.
It is coming
so
back.
he's moved the units up here, and he's now measuring out 9, which means the board edge right here will not give Manny enough space to put the Forge Fiend base.
Place the Forge Fiend, exactly
so
right.
you know, if you don't have the models or the bodies to do it, use the board edge. It's an important tool.
All right, so right now, both units of Legionaries will absolutely be deleted. I wish he was doing something about these Nurglings in addition. But is he going to be able to bring it down is the question. Looks like the edge of the plexiglass is to here, so I don't believe he's getting a line of sight with those Inceptors onto the Rhino.
It's too far away anyway at that point.
Manny's playing this very well, and I think this is the only way he can do it to guarantee a huge score. And he has got a huge score. 39 points in 2 turns is comprehensive.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Comprehensive.
Oh, we got a hot take in the chat as well. It's like heroic intervention is rarely actually useful when it's used. It's much more useful as a threat.
Exactly right. It is a psychological tool to beat your opponent around the head and or face with, to say, oh, look what I'm setting up right here. If you make this charge, I can heroically intervene. And that's what you want to tell your opponent about that all the time.
That's super interesting, actually, for you to. That's actually a good point.
Oh, no, I mean about being able to heroically intervene. Like, you know, again, but you're exactly right. Just that idea of that role can totally disrupt your plans, which may influence what you do, especially when the outcome is so important.
I think it's especially useful in this list, though, right? That ability to kind of fall back with a unit and pull you into heroic intervention range means that normally your heroic intervention is 2d6, so effectively 7 really on the averages. Maybe you could play for a little bit more. But the fact that you can pull units back into that orbit and either pull them out of charge range or just into the trap, that's really effective.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely John needs to take back this objective, which would give him Storm Hostile. I'd love to see him do something about these rhinos. I don't really know what he could do. Possibly, this is a pretty rough play, but there may be a rapid ingress position somewhere around here. Although actually,
for the Inceptors specifically.
Sorry, I think the plexiglass blocks that off. Yeah, I don't think you can see there because what you want to do is move the aggressors out to this position, shoot. Kill this rhino and then charge into the other one. Now, of course, like I said, there is the play to surround the rhino, and then when you kill it, if the units can't disembark, they do count as destroyed.
I think it's a big ass to get there.
It's definitely a big ask to get to this one, but I believe if he rolled like a 3, moved 8 inches, a decent charge would get him around.
Is there a line down there? There might be.
Yeah, I assume there would be. It might be the range. Might be the range because only 18 inch range.
I think more for the Centurions, although you maybe don't want to have them anywhere near anything that might charge them.
They've been placed directly adjacent to the Legionaries, as far as I can see. Hi, chat.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And they're basically.
That's cute.
Yeah, so they're going for that. And the Legionaries really committed there in the hope of charges, maybe not being maybe aware, but maybe forcing a Space Marine's hand there in terms of having to use some of their abilities, kind of just putting pressure on.
Yeah, spot on.
Day 47 of the World Championships. The participants are starting to send messages out to the internet, one note at a time.
Psyches are cracking, fraying even. They need to be re-knitted together through the passion and love.
We'll let Justin know y'all said, hey, he definitely is doing amazing work, and it's been just all around this hall, making sure everything's played on straight and narrow.
Very cool.
Yeah, the devastated Centurions, I wonder if there could have been a more advantageous position, but Jean knows exactly what he's doing.
I think he's been playing these guys pretty much the same in every game.
Who are we to question?
I think every time we go, oh, there's an opportunity there, he's actually been playing them very safely, because the thing about the Centurions is that what he wants to do is bounce them around. He wants to kind of move, pick them up, redeploy them every turn, and if he's not able, if they're in combat, they can't do that. Because one of the things about that stratagem is you can't do it in combat, so you never want to get caught. You want to be bouncing around the backfield of your board every time, lining up the best shot, staying well away from anything to do with the Chaos Army.
Yeah, exactly right.
The lists are pinned in a comment here in the chat. You can check out what these players are playing, and I think you'll notice a few interesting things taken by these players that have not made their way into everybody's list yet. When you're building your list, you got to build certain tools into them. See if some of those choices are right for you.
Spot on. It looks like we are still waiting to see the final. Is there going to be any more reserves arriving? There are still plenty of holes on this battlefield.
John walked away from the table, I think, maybe to get a cup of water or
Yes,
something.
I
So
believe that is
he
the
is
case.
back now. There's a lot of stuff that can happen at the end of the turn, into both these players' turn. Though all these players have options that they, after everything is done, and that's one of the coolest things. Like players at this level, is that they just don't grab their tape measure, just don't move on to the next phase, but taking a breath, taking a pause, figure out what's going on, what's the board state, is there anything I can do that I need to be doing right now, and then start rolling dice and moving models.
So John is rolling 6 Plasma Inceptors. Last time he did this, 4 of them died. Is he winning on 2s or 3s? He's winning on 2s. That means he has overcharge. Have you learned nothing, John? But this is into the Legionaries, and they will be absolutely destroyed by this.
I'm glad you said that, and I know that you were kidding a bit, because what the players do is you try to make the right call every time, the best call you can make. You cannot let the previous die rolls influence what you do the next time when you know it's the right play.
Let's see how many get removed from this unit. Looks like there is one.
One of them goes out, which is a much more reasonable expectation of what might happen.
Yeah. Exactly right. 66s need to be rolled afterwards, and for every one, a model is removed.
Zoom our way down there just to have a look. There we go. Yeah, so there was...
the squad is wiped.
Yeah, there was a Chaos Space Marine squad. If you could just... Dice box, what are you doing?
Absolutely deleted. And now
there
we have these...
Yeah. There was a Chaos Space Marine squad there. There is now no longer a Chaos Space Marine squad there. Yeah,
there's some form of paste or gruel. Definitely not something that you should feed your loved ones.
There was no rapid ingress again. There again, all these players figuring out every step of the way if there's something they want to do that's going to get in the head or basically disrupt the plans of their opponent here in this final game of final games.
Lascannon's lining up the other. Lascannon's lining up the other unit of legionaries.
It's not a great turn to be a legionary, is it? They are going down.
D6 plus once every fail is dead.
They got exposed. They got up there, and then Manny did choose to keep. I mean, well, after what we saw, keep them there as opposed to drawing out more of John's forces and giving away that free movement.
Yeah. So he decided to keep them there because they were absolutely, definitely, 100% going to deny John 5 points.
Yeah. So their sacrifice got them 5 points.
If they went for other plays, there is the possibility that he could have gotten more points out of it, but taking 5 off wherever you can in a game where so the first game was 2 points was 2 points in, and the last game was a draw. So taking any points off your opponent could just be the win when it's all said and done. These 2 games have been so close.
Yeah, and these players know all the tricks at this point. Now, is fatigue going to set in? Is the adrenaline of the event is keeping them going, keeping them dialed in, focused?
So speaking of which, guys, thanks ever so much for sticking with us. There's 3,000 of you watching at the moment, which is amazing. Thank you so much for choosing in to the World Championships of Warhammer.
Yeah, the people who watch and see it right now, thank you too. You're part of that 3,000.
Correct.
We both are.
So
we all are.
At the same time. Possibly before this game is finished, we will also see the Champion of Champions for Age of Sigmar. And then, in all honesty, we could probably give you the final standings for the international scores if that is the case. If it's not the case, we might put up the live ones.
We will keep the stream going. We'll let the judges do all their tabulations, all the event organizers do their tabulations before we call a final for any country, one nation, or any but the players outside of the games that we are watching right now. So definitely keep your eyes peeled as we draw the stream on.
Exactly right. Can we get those final tallies up of the current leaderboard up on the stream? Why don't we have a look at it for people at home, because we are going into a movement phase as well. United States putting their firm foot forward in the overall points, 44, which is 4 points ahead of England and 5 ahead of Canada. United States also on top for Warhammer 40k, of course, with John currently battling against Manny.
Yeah, not just about the player who's doing the best overall, of course, also things factoring into this are the painting scores across those teams and how certain players are doing with certain factions, but the largest single contributor to that is the best general score, which is basically which team has got the highest placing. Correct.
Now, looking over here, there are some really amazing inclusions here. We did see, for a time, we saw Chile, who has 3 players in attendance on the leaderboard for Warhammer Underworlds. Right now, the underdog hero is Mexico, who coming from absolutely nowhere, almost an unheralded scene down there. They must be plugging away, doing some absolutely amazing work, and brought some savages to attendance. I think there's only about 4 players here from Mexico across all game systems, and in Kill Team, they are absolutely brutalizing people, getting 5th place. That will stay the same, will it?
That's
Kill Team
funny.
is completed, so
Kill Team is set, so Warhammer Underworlds and Kill Team are not moving anywhere. So Kill Team, we can now say Spain on top. Poland, again, that's been the story of this tournament. Poland and Spain have been trading first place this whole tournament.
By the same amount of points, 3 points here, 4 points there, flipping back and forth.
The middle day, so day 1, Poland was leading all comers by a decent margin. The middle days, they swapped almost every round. And now it looks like Spain has carried the day and stamped their foot on the best Kill Team nation in the world this year.
Spain
Yeah, I feel like Spain is always really good.
Under Canada and the United States, and Poland again, Warhammer Underworlds. Clearly, bastions of skirmish excellence there in Europe.
And so look at how powerful. So 1st and 3rd there means that they are 5th in the overall as well. And they're not on any other of the leaderboards here in the top 5. So they probably do have some other decent contributors out there. But that's very impressive.
You guys can absolutely hop across to the Warhammer community website if you want to, and if you can dive into these stats and have a look where all these numbers are coming from, and it calls out which players are contributing which stats. So really interesting reading there. But yeah, this is not over yet because some very tight numbers at the top, and it will definitely come down to how these last games go. USA, France, and England in contention for the Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 championships.
So looks like arriving from reserve is the Forge Fiend, who's going to be drawing a line down to the Inceptors. That Forge Fiend is purpose-built for killing that profile. It will be -1 hit, and John will count as being in cover, so Armor Contempt may be able to save some models because they'll be going, they would usually have a 6-up save, plus Stealth 5-up save, and then Armor Contempt bring down to a 4-up save, but every failed save will be a dead model there.
Yeah.
And it'll be 3d3 plus 3 shots, so what's that? That averages at 9 shots. Hitting on 4s, re-rolling, so 4 or 5 hits, possibly exploding, depending on the Dark Pact. So it's possible to kill them all, but through that, you would like to hope you'd have 1 or 2 left.
Yeah, the Forge Fiend's pretty good at taking down. We talked a lot about like efficiency of stats into certain units. Of all the things you'd like to be shooting, the Inceptors are one of the juiciest targets because each one of those models, I think, is like 40 points, isn't it, for like one Inceptor? So they don't come cheap. So as soon as you can
get a lot of utility and tacticalness of them.
Yeah, if he can, a decent round of shooting, that Forge Fiend can make his entire points back in a single fusillade.
Correct. And the Forge Fiend is the only, I guess, significant shooting unit available for the Chaos Space Marines. That's true. Sorry.
There's a few plasma pistols in there.
Look at that disparity. We have a Forge Fiend, which is an elite shooting force, and then the next tick down is the Rhino, which actually we've seen ain't bad.
Correct. The last unit of Legionaries, I believe, has been committed to pick up the Scouts. And we may see that once again he feints in order to pull that unit into the open, so it can be killed.
Into the open or into a heroic intervention. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Manny is throwing his Legionaries away, isn't he? He's like, you know what? You guys are worth less than 5 points to me, so run over there. I'm quite happy if you die because you've got a 5-point swing in my favor, which is a perfectly good use for a unit that costs less than 100 points.
This is what I was saying. I was very worried about John getting 5s and Manny getting 15s. Manny in his turn 3 got another 15, 54 to 22, and is giving John another 5 because that is almost certainly going to be cancelled out.
Differential currently, isn't it?
I worry it's already too much. I think I really worry that John needed to go early in this game because it's so easy for Manny to disrupt his scoring, but he's doing nothing to hamper Manny's.
And this is the play, right? So for every single game we've seen with John into a Chaos Space Marine force, what he's basically done, he's
not looking good for my dude over there. They're sounding good.
Very good early scoring, and then he's pushed back. But it's always been tight. It's always been really tight.
32 points, ain't that tight?
Very big difference there. So, and I think Manny's kind of cottoned onto this as the tactic. You go like, well, if you're going to cede the field to me early on, what I'm going to do is really dominate. I'm going to have stuff on all the objectives across the midfield. I'm going to really put pressure on. So both these guys playing a really solid game. They know each other's list now. They came into this knowing their own list very well, and they're now very familiar with all the tricks that the other player can pull.
We mentioned that was part of the table talk. He said Manny was going to go more aggressive this time than he had in the previous games to try to choke out that primary, and it seems to be working right now. It's kind of going to be up to John to try to answer and respond. Now we know that John has lots of tricks. Where you see his units right now are by nowhere near where those units have to be come his turn. So if he so chooses to do that, he has a lot of flexibility, and it also comes down to the flips he gets. But I think he does have to get out there and threaten that center a little bit.
He does. I think Manny's just experimenting with the placement of this Rhino, seeing what it can block off, what it can disrupt, and what it can possibly add to his overall game plan. Something that I might do if I was Manny, is because the sheer power of the Rhino is without compare. I may drive that Rhino and park it right here. And maybe drive this Rhino and park it right there.
Near indomitable Rhino.
And just block off John getting out from that ruin. I don't think he could accomplish from the positions he's in there. He would have had to have set it up last turn.
I think the challenge of trying to block stuff with Rhinos when you've got infantry particularly is very good Rhinos at blocking vehicles. Blocking infantry is tricky, especially we can do advance and charges, because sometimes people can use your model to slingshot round to even faster places. So I don't disagree that there might be some options to do some blocking, but it's very difficult against that surprisingly fast aggressor unit with the advance and charge.
I love the points you made about slingshotting with that giving away movement, potentially needlessly, by positioning your models in certain places to your opponent.
And that's kind of the chaos play for the most part, isn't it? Yeah. Go on.
So John has to commit everything next turn. Manny gets another 15. And it goes sitting right here. Manning's getting max on cleanse. He's getting 4 points a turn, and he's getting 3 points a turn on homers. So we're going to add 7 plus 5. We're going to add another 22 points here. So Manning's going to be on 76 points if nothing changes. How can John even catch up to that?
It's go time. Basically, it's go time. And you have to shut down Manny's scoring potential for the last 2 turns of the game.
Keep enough CP in your bank that you have an interrupt and commit to the board.
Well, I mean, look at his CP. I mean, they're both sitting at 5. They've not had really any excuse to have to do this. They're basically playing a maneuvering game right now, which, by the way, is how you win Warhammer. I mean, don't get me wrong. Shooting and blasting and assaulting is amazing, but a lot of the game is actually won and lost in the maneuvering, and both these players are doing a great job, and I'm pretty sure that John's going to recognize it is go time. It is hit the pedal on the right.
I'm worried he's waited 1 turn too long. I think, and I even said this previously, I think turn 2 he needed to commit to the table. Draw out as many resources as possible whilst keeping himself safe, and that would usually be by having the company heroes body blocking in front for the aggressors. Get them up the table so that you can only get 1 unit, only with a maximum charge into them, and then start really having to chew through Manny's army, because I do fear that it is 1 turn too late already.
I believe these are the chosen with the Lord here coming out of this Rhino. I don't think those are just the everyday run-of-the-mill legionaries.
I mean, and honestly, this is mostly because John gave him the take back on the heroic intervention.
Well, I mean, look, there's plenty of game left to play. I said, and this is
and there's ways to win, and there's ways to win.
Well, I completely agree with that, by the way, and that's certainly something we can unpack on some dialogue. But at the same time, is that
what I'm saying, bro.
Play enough games. We know that these players do play a lot of games. This is not a position uncommon to any of these players. They're going to be looking for those lines of victory, like what we saw unfold in the last game. Is that
that's what I'm saying.
Had to move up, declare shots, force out a stratagem to make the Rhino lone operative, just end up destroying all of the models in the way, then nail an 11-inch charge, then nail a Paladin, then convert on that. Seeing that line of play, 10, 12, 15 steps in advance is something we know that John is capable of, and so I'm not putting him out of this game yet.
We just seen on the table there a very long advance roll from the Chosen. That was a 6 roll on the advance.
Are they going for the charge, you think, or are they just trying to block anything coming out of there?
I think he's positioned him in such a way that he can give himself the choice. So he's going to go in, I can be here, I can be in your way even if I don't charge, and depending on how the rest of the turn goes, he can decide whether that's the move for him or not.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to make this charge. I think he's sitting in a winning position right now. All he needs to do is delay John 1 more turn, and I think that the job would be done. John only getting 5s on primary. I mean, if John gets another 5, even if he scores both of his secondaries for 5 points, plus 15 there would be 37. And then another, like I said, another 15 and another min score would be 76. So the gap would not be closing; it would be lengthening once again. So John needs to just send it. Just send it. Let's
cut out this area. Hope for a favorable charge.
Yep.
Maybe potentially type multiple units. And if you are in this area right here, you have a lot of targets at your disposal.
Absolutely, nothing to be taken away by either of these players. John decided to give a take back to show exemplary sportsmanship. That was John's choice. We can hold nothing against Manny either. They're both competitors playing at a level that we would not see almost anywhere else in the world. Absolutely exemplary play.
I'm saying everything's on the line.
We should all be proud of these people. If you're from England, get behind your boy Manny. If you're from the United States, please get behind the boy king in John Lennon.
And if you're just here for the Warhammer, amazing as well. We're here on Sunday. It's absolutely awesome to be here in Atlanta, Georgia, calling the World Championships of Warhammer, and we will truly be crowning world champions after
I think
these rounds of.
I think you're not taking into consideration
I know you are gathering near.
You're not taking into consideration. It was very sportsmanship of the guy to allow him to make a different choice. But how unsportsmanship is it to accept that? Why don't you just stick with where you were? You know what I mean?
hasn't happened yet.
So very similar to the last game. They did a lot of positioning, a lot of nuanced movement, getting in the way, blocking, kind of lining up where they wanted each squad to go. And yeah, we'll see the big crash turn. Hashtag Bell Wall is still my pick.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing for the Skaven there is that in the Lumineth turn, they're effectively debuffing huge chunks of the Skaven army and then going, would you like to fight now?
To commit?
And they're like, I don't think so. No, thank you.
So good.
Yeah, jumping back up to our 40k game, obviously this is such a good level of Warhammer 40,000. We've seen an awful lot of very similar matchups. It just seems like every game is coming better and better.
Let's look at the board state right here. We have Chaos, Chaos here, Chaos here, Chaos here, Chaos here, Chaos here. Those are Nurglings. We got some Chaos here. John truly has his work cut out for him. And these are all spread out. These are all, I'm going to say, I believe that's chosen. Well, but these are all units that are not necessarily known for their durability. If John can break out here, he can clean this all up.
He could clean it all up in one turn, in all honesty. And in doing so, he could really start stamping some authority back on this table. So what is really rough here and what Manny's doing well is that all these forward units, they're all pushing back the redeploys, they're pushing back the deep strikes, pushing back the ingresses, pushing back the everything.
So even though we think he might be on for a very successful turn in terms of killing Chaos Space Marine models, it's going to be very difficult for him to be on the objective in a lot of these instances.
Agreed, absolutely agreed. And that is the game comes down to points, not models. Manny can get tabled if he scores 100 points. Doesn't matter.
There are a lot of lists out there that get designed to basically grind themselves down to the nub, basically slide across the finish line with nothing but blood and a little bit of skin clinging on.
Talking about design, Manny's designed this list exclusively to play the fixed objectives. And I would like to point out the best way to think about this is if you can make an army that is good at scoring and denying primary, fixed objectives is a very good idea for you. Because you're going to be committing to the objectives already, taking things like cleanse to deploy teleport homers, behind enemy lines, possibly engage on all fronts, although engage is a bit iffy at times. You have to have a really set list for it. But it gives you just a reliability and a insurance of score that you can't really get anywhere else. As in, technically in turn 3, he could have scored 10, possibly 10 or 12 on each if he was just pulling tactical objectives off the top of his deck, which is quite a bit less than he's got. But by the same token, if he had a list that was doing that, he might very well be on 20 instead of 30 on primary. And that is the real tail there. So build your list to play primary if you want, and there's different styles, different archetypes of list. If you build a list to play primary, you might want to also think about building it to play fixed objectives in addition.
I absolutely love the discussion about list building because you're not only trying to remove what your opponents have, you're not trying to play into not only trying to play in to the stats you think you're going to encounter over the life of an event, but you also have to play the missions. You have to play the objectives itself, and you can take one of those variables out.
We got a question in the chat, honest question. In their prime, who would win, Vulcan or Horus in a fight?
Well, seeing what's...
No chaos influence.
Vulcan's too nice.
Well, in all honesty, what are the terms of the fight? If it's to the death, Vulcan, you can't die.
How many deaths? That's maybe the question.
Oh,
if it's knockdown first blood or something like that.
I thought you said no chaos influence.
Yeah, oof. Yeah, perpetuality is that's a can of worms.
The good
right
news,
there.
guys, is that there is a game called Warhammer the Horus Heresy where there are stats for both, so you don't need to just ask this question. You can actually just play it out yourself.
If it's until first death, I think Horus.
Probably Horus.
If they're just fighting until one of them can't fight anymore, obviously Vulcan would win.
So for me, I'd really like if we're just looking at it without the idea that Vulcan may have some like additional beyond death type abilities. I believe that the fight would go on in a way that be cataclysmic and titanic, especially with him banging, depending on what war gear Vulcan brought.
I feel like if he really needs to, Horus can not fight fair, whereas I can't imagine that Vulcan would stoop to that low.
There will be a point where Horus says, you know what, we got to turn it up a notch. We got to
bring
go
the
to a
gang
level.
fighting skills out. Yeah.
We got to go to a level that Vulcan is not expecting and come out on top. Great question. And then, what's y'all's opinion? And then Tiny Clan saying, been watching this since Thursday, still not burnt out of Warhammer? Well, of course not. Like,
mate, I'm not
There's
sure
always
it's
more
possible.
Warhammer, guys.
I'm not sure it is
always
possible.
More Warhammer.
I'm painting a squad when I leave here tonight. I mean, that's it. I mean,
So what genuinely speaking, like, what are you guys actually inspired to do? Are you inspired to kind of lean into any of the armies we've seen, or kind of add stuff into your army to counter meta, or just the general sense of Warhammerness filling you with general inspiration across the board?
To me, it's the general sense. I have a huge pile of Space Marine shame, and I'm in the process of clearing it.
That's what you've got.
Yes, I have a potential.
A
pile of potential. And I am so encouraged to go and deplete that pile by any means necessary when I get home. Because I want to get what I like to call OWR. That's old world ready.
Old world ready.
Old world ready, baby.
You going for that? You going to try and make that happen? Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
I
We
have
saw one of the
bought-
largest square bases I've ever seen during the preview. That was,
True.
but that's.
He's still my beating heart.
I do have 3 more aggressors on my painting table at home. They're already primed with Mephiston red. Look, I'm telling you, I'm excited.
I mean, I'm watching this army play, and it's really interesting, right? I haven't built a Space Marine army for an awful long time, but after seeing this, I'm like, you know what? Like, you know, maybe it's time again. Maybe it's time again. It does feel like if you're a Warhammer 40,000 fan, every now and again you should just jump into Space Marines because they are the faction, right?
They are. They give you so many flavors as well, especially now, you know, you can paint whatever you want, play whatever you want. I have a, my Space Marine chapter is, the premise is, this is years ago I decided this premise, that the lion has woken up again. And
What a crazy idea.
I know.
Who would write
Who would
that?
have thought it happened like a couple of months ago? But the first Space Marine he saw was painted green, and he strangled them. He's like,
Wow.
oh, the Calibanites are back. Because they put him, this one, we put him where
That
he
seems like the sort of well-rounded character that you'd
that
have
he
for the,
is.
yeah.
And also, he's been asleep, so he's a bit cranky. But then he figures out what's going on. He's like, all right, all of you, why are you green? You're representing the people who tried to kill us. Paint your armor black immediately. And so I have the Horus Heresy schemed 40k army because I kind of like it more. But now I have a Shrike who's painted in that color scheme.
Go
I
for it.
have a Torgaran who's painted in that color scheme.
A lot of flexibility in the
I'm
Space
about to have a Marnie's Calgar painted in that color scheme.
I think one of the nice things about the new Space Marine Codex is obviously much more liberating in terms of encouraging you to just paint into whatever color scheme and theme you want. Very much opens the floodgates for you to go, actually, you know what, if you love a particular chapter, but the rules don't quite have, the detachment rule don't quite work for you, just you know, play it anyway. Which is exactly what's happening with this Space Marine army on the stream. This is an Ultramarine army, but they're using the Vanguard Task Force detachment, which is the one that you'd normally associate with the super sneaky kind of Space Marines, like your Raven Guards and that sort of thing. But Ultramarines, the masters of all forms of war, have decided to use more of the tools in their toolbox and take to the field in that particular
So what's happening right over here, the Forge Fiend did come on, and there was some temporary placement of the Forge Fiend, so I see it dance kind of on and off the table. With a base that size, you know, and the players are asking, like, can you tell me where's here, what's there, whatever. So the Forge Fiend did actually officially come on the table. Forge Fiend fired into the Plasma Inceptors, full buffed up. Did not armor contempt on John's side, destroyed all the Plasma Inceptors. Passed Hazardous on the Forge Fiend, but took 3 mortals to the failed Dark Pact. That is, you know, that's par for the course.
I mean, Plasma has been a fickle mistress this tournament.
Flirting with the Pantheon equally as deadly.
We should. That is just peachy. But we should have had. Instead of tracking deadly demise, should have tracked hazardous fails.
How many wounds have people done to themselves,
or
either
even
through Dark Pact
or even Dark Pact fails? Exactly right.
The Legionaries are about to charge the Scouts. John is contemplating the reaction move, basically the feint.
Such a good move.
Yeah, it's great.
It is exceptionally powerful. One option here, should he choose to take it. So feint doesn't have to be backwards, you know?
Remember, like,
Doesn't
fall
have to be
back
backwards.
is often fall forward. Like,
Yes,
you can go
fall forward.
take the opportunity to move your models, maneuver them. Move with a purpose, our buddy. Refers to that as maneuvering. And you should always be looking at that opportunity every time you touch your model, and not just in the movement phase.
Correct.
Every time you pick up your model to move it, that could be for pile-ins, charging, consolidates, advancing. You know, anything that when you are maneuvering that model around, be deliberate with it.
Spot on. This scoreline is still looking pretty hellacious, 32 points the difference here. I do believe John has the ability to close that gap, and we can never count out the boy King. He has been behind in every single game that he has played on stream. All 5 games he has played on stream, he has been behind going into the turn of 3, and I don't know if it's been by this margin. This is looking like a pretty big margin, but I back this guy to make this a game, and I believe that he will.
We got to think, if there's a line,
he has got a lot of power on the board still.
he's going to discover it. And by the way, having a line of play doesn't mean there's not a little bit of luck involved.
Correct.
You know, there could be. You still have to roll those dice, and convert on those ideas. We saw that play out masterfully in the last game. There's no reason to suspect we will not see it here as well.
Absolutely right. So we have another unit of 6 Inceptors in reserve, another unit of 3 Inceptors in reserve, and the Eradicators. So I know John discarded Bring It Down, but I do believe the Eradicators would be able to come on next turn and almost definitely find a bead on one of these Rhinos, if not possibly 2. But I don't think John wants to shackle himself to having to go after mostly empty Rhinos at this stage. So it could be a little bit, could be a little frustrating.
He's really got to pick his poison. Kill the Rhinos now, kill the Rhinos later, because you know they're going to be a threat.
Yes, spot on. Absolutely right.
I mean, it's one of those. It's like some bit of repetition here, where these moving boxes. They have a nice footprint. They got a decent amount of scoring. They can complete Manny's secondary objectives. You know, they're a unit that has to be contended with. That also kind of goes in the list design of Manny and the focus on the fixed objectives, where John is actually turning up tactical objectives. He is using a deck of cards to reveal what his secondary objectives are each round. Manny has chosen fixed objectives. That means each and every turn that he's playing for the primary objective, which both players are doing, and cleanse and deploy teleport homers for all 5 turns of this game.
So John is doing a trick that we have seen him do before, which is take up all available space inside the ruin whilst also being 1 inch away, so he can't be engaged on the outside. Now, this technique is not available all the time, but the point is here that no model can exist inside the wall, like halfway in between the wall. Due to that, if you can't get with engage at range because they're 1 inch away, you can't make the charge. You have to go all the way around. We saw him pull off this maneuver against Boris and Mitchev, and Boris just straight up just slammed down the 10 and made the charge anyway. We will see if Manny Chima is able to do the same thing.
Got a great comment here. It's like, wait, so you're saying my dice practicing rolling 6s every night is not going to get me better at Warhammer?
Well, it can't make you any worse.
Yeah, right. And dice rituals are important, you know.
Well, my partner, we both work from home a lot of the time, and she'll just hear me just pull down my dice tray and hear a bit of a clickety-clack, 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 and she'll be like, he's had a new idea.
And here comes Eddie back. He seems to be he's sprinting back over here. What do you got?
Right, okay, so there's quite a lot of discussion on the battlefield happening right now, and the discussion is all about this unit here and its potential charges. The discussion right now is, initially, they're thinking declare a charge, and they're definitely going to be able to get some models around this way to fight, but there's some stuff that's kind of blocking it in the way. So at the moment, the conversation is going, what happens if I want to charge up and onto that building, right?
Yeah.
And what that means is he's going to have to declare a charge against both the scout unit and the aggressor unit, and they're just working out, like, if I roll a 7, I get a couple of these models in. If I roll an 8, I get 3 of them in. If I roll a 9, the Chaos Lord can get on top of that building as well and swing.
That's what he wants.
And if he rolls a charge and gets either a 7 or an 8, he successfully charges, but the Chaos Lord can't fight, which isn't what he wants. If he rolls a 9 or more, the Chaos Lord gets in and he can fight. And if he rolls less than a 7, it's a failed charge.
I don't think he declares a charge. Once again, John is giving him nothing but bad choices in charging and trying to contest him here. If he charges there and doesn't make the Chaos Lord in, he just loses the Chosen for no effectiveness, giving the opponent a pile-in and a consolidate.
And that's the discussion. But I think what he's basically going for is, I just want to tie your units up. Yeah. So I think to some extent he'd almost be happy with, like, I think he might try
choke the board
just to get in the way.
That's a game plan.
Because every turn that he keeps John pinned up in there, that means he is actually he may be recognizing a new capability of his list to choke out the primary. That seemed to be like a new maneuver that he was trying for this game here.
Exclusively in this game, is Matty going for it?
Explain this to you. I can't. Okay.
Yeah, fair.
So
looking at the broad back of Manny here, head coach. It looks like he's trying to go for it.
Could John do the reactive strat, and if he rolls a 5 or more, could he move up and have one rank be up there and move another rank an inch off the building?
This is amazing technical, nuanced goodness that we're about to tell you right now. Paul, give us the lowdown.
Yeah, so what they're talking about with the judges right now is basically trying to figure out that if John uses his feint, if he's able to, if he rolls the appropriate distance would be a 5 to scale up the building there. Can he jump up on the top of the building and also force the rest of his models within 1 inch of the wall to basically make the charge impossible because of model placement and how
he got the 5. It is done. He got the 5. It's blocked.
Oh, wow.
So that is a
he
really
failed.
big, interesting. That's so difficult to get
God.
past that, isn't it?
And
that scout unit is causing all sorts of headaches for the Chosen.
The depth of thinking and knowledge and genius involved to find that line by John, and for Manny to be like, well, what if I just go up?
That's
and over?
huge.
High enough to go up and over, even though you're giving me this horrible
I'm not
choice.
sure that every player remembers that you can't actually do that sometimes.
Yeah, you got a 5 inch vertical fight distance. So if you're
Sounds like he's going to lose his Chosen now because of that play.
Realizing if half the model goes up and the other half the model steps in, there is nowhere for him to place models, and therefore the charge is a fail no matter what.
Yeah.
So John just putting on a bit of a masterclass there.
I think he might still have to roll if it's even possible on a huge roll to get in. So we might still see a charge, but it'll be a very weird charge that kind of has to loop around units in odd ways and engage the wrong things, and it's going to be a very high number required, basically.
Waters in the chat says, Scouts just move 6. Yeah, Scouts and Phobos actually do move 6,
So
but
I
these
think
are
it's the aggressor unit that
these
moves
aggressors. Yeah, so
this has a dual purpose because he needs to use these aggressors next turn. So he's actually got them in front of the scouts now, so he can use them next turn to wield them to get.
We should watch Kill Team tournament matches on here sometime.
Correct.
Yeah, I think one of the things, actually, just looking at the battlefield, you maybe don't get a sense of up close from the camera angles we've got, is that there are just an enormous number of cultists behind those two rhinos. Like those buildings that you can see at the top of the screen there are jam-packed with cultists. They are like untouched as a resource. There's like 60-odd cultists still kind of hiding. So looking at the battlefield from this angle, it looks like there's quite a lot of Space Marines, but from the other side of the board, it looks like a very different story.
Yes. There is, 63 cultists on this table just hanging out in the back?
Yeah.
63 cultists represent like 120 wounds or
Wounds,
something
yeah,
like
that's
that.
right.
It's,
Enormous number of
yeah.
wounds.
I mean, some armies don't have enough bullets to get through all those.
That's correct. That's correct.
You know, so it's a great force, great for doing this type of thing that we're seeing right now.
John has all the tools in his army to kill 2 of those squads in a turn, should he be able to get line of sight of them. And Manny's doing a beautiful job of playing keep away, while also being in places of influence.
Yeah, really piling the pressure on, and that score, you know, is testament to how well Manny's pushing that aggressive angle with his army.
Luke 17 says that feint strat is bonkers.
It's
well,
so
it's
powerful.
situational. It really is situational.
Yeah.
But anytime you get an out of phase movement, I mean, when I'm asking folks, or folks are asking me, is like, what should I look for in a codex? Out of phase stuff. If you're looking through a book and you see something that happens outside of any other time,
you can shoot when you wouldn't normally be able to shoot.
Yeah.
You can fight when you wouldn't normally be able to fight. You can move when you wouldn't normally be able to move. That one of the reasons that Eldar was so strong at the start of this edition is they had a bunch of those stratagems that let them move, do a thing, and then move
Phantasm.
out of retaliation range.
Yeah, I loved it.
Come across it in whatever book you're
I
reading.
was so happy I had an Eldar army for that.
That is another 5 on primary for John. Unfortunately, there's nothing he can really do about that. The scouts just got picked up by the legionaries in the middle of the table.
It's a lot of attacks. I mean, those are the run-of-the-mill legionaries, but they are
They're
Chaos
still
Space
pretty
Marines.
solid. Like
Yeah.
even your base legionary there is kicking out 4 attacks, which is respectable. And then you've got a couple of heavy melee weapons in there. One on the champion, one on the kind of big double chainsaw wielding guy, and they kick out basically power fist level attacks as well. So you can't count them out. They are only a cheap little unit, but if they're punching down into light enemy infantry like scouts or anything lighter than that, they can rip it up.
So John is putting a bunch of stuff into reserve. We're seeing the scores for the secondaries for Manny come in now. Cleanses on 12, Deploy Time Homers on 9. The gap is now 34 points. It is pretty hellacious. John needs to get on his bike. The death killing needs to happen and needs to pull this
He's got to
out of the
bust
fire.
out. I mean,
He
he's got
does.
himself in the right
Can't
position.
not. Can't not.
You know, he needs to bust out there and start basically trying to shoot everything he possibly can and assaulting the rest.
Spot on. He has put a unit of scouts in reserve. He's put his Khaled Assassin in reserve, and almost certainly, I believe, he'll be putting another unit in reserve. I would consider putting, if there was a good spot, which I'm not sure there is, because I believe this is screened off, screened off, screened off, screened off, screened off. So you're walking on.
Screened off by the model bases, may not be able to bring
Yeah.
things in. The 9-inch exclusions.
It's all bad. It's all bad. I'm hating to say it, but I think Manny might have already done enough. If John can't get out and account for Chosen, a Cursed Cultist, or more this turn, he's just not going to get enough done to bring this back.
And you're looking down on the board there, it looks like there's quite a lot of chaos stuff on the board. There is, like, this is packed with Chosen. This is packed with not Chosen,
Cursed
with Cursed Cultists. There are so many bodies still just
Soon to be
clogging up
chosen.
those objectives. And John's got a lot of very specific firepower in things like those plasma Inceptors that can drop down and do loads of damage, but they're not particularly honed for taking out a Cursed Cultist other than the bolters, and he's only got 3 of those. So he's going to really struggle to clear the objectives, I think. We are still going to see chaos with plenty of objectives in hand.
Sounds like my dude's going to win.
Even a very good shooting phase.
So if you do not know what I'm doing right now,
Taking out those command points, that means we're flipping to the bottom of the turn.
so my doubting of John, okay, just to give you guys some face-upness, is showmanship. Thank you very much. People calling me out and saying, "You're doubting John, Adam. Don't doubt John." Like,
We're just adding the drama.
Have you learned nothing? I get to say the lines and stuff like, I'm beginning to believe all these things become options for me if I start being like, ooh, John's in a rough place, guys. Oh my God, has he waited too long?
Adam's just given himself a very strong late game in the
It's
commentary.
right. See, I'm waiting.
John has demonstrated the ability to continue to play, and if he is actually looking at this from the eye of the general that we know he is looking for those plays as well. And it may be that thin line that he has to tap dance around, but if it is possible, he's going to do it.
We know he is an expert tap dancer.
Tempting target has been
very
selected.
talented. He's
That is bad. That's almost definitely that target for tempting target.
That's all
And
right.
It's not that
cleanse.
tempting,
Yeah.
let's tell you.
No, it's not.
It looks a little tempting. We have Marnie's Calgar and all his friends right over here.
And in all honesty, he would love to have had a go and kill something objective. I would not be surprised. I mean, tempting target, I might just cycle that straight out. Let's get rid of that. Let's get a fresh card because that is not something that's going to be adding anything. Cleanse is also not something he particularly wants to do just yet. He wants to be activating and using every gun, every blade, every shiv to bring down as many.
There is something to be said for the way that Manny's kind of filled up that battlefield, that he's given basically some bad options from the secondary deck. If you can go, well, I don't know what your objective is going to be because you've got tactical, but I know what they could be.
Yes.
So here's a very difficult landscape where you've got a limited number of cards that could be efficient.
We've seen, especially this late in the game, that once the deck thins, generals kind of understand and respect what the cards could hold, what could be the next flips, and not just casually try to give away points. You'll even see some generals maybe not even creeping onto objectives in case like a storm gets drawn or something like that. You know, because you don't want to. Well, it's difficult. If you're already this far ahead, of course, you don't want your opponent to creep back into it, but you also have to recognize maybe what might be there still.
Absolutely. These are two young men, John being a little bit young. I think John's 25 years of age. Manny, I would assume late 20s, maybe early 30s. Just throwing it out there. At the peak of their powers, they are playing and operating at a stunning level. Some of the maneuvers that both of these gentlemen have pulled off during their run are absolutely exemplary. They could be added to a playbook anywhere in the world.
So look at this. It's like tactical objectives may be at a detriment against probably postured opponents. And look, that is, I mean, that's a great comment. And it is
What's
something.
the alternative?
But it's also, it's like, the posture is like you've anticipated that, and then you've also kind of counting on your opponent not being able to deal with it, what you've postured into it. So it does, it's interactive. It forces certain situations, and you actually get more points with tactical objectives than you were taking the fixed. And so that risk and that gamble is often what a lot of players go with. It's also, if you're going to take fixed objectives, you have to engineer your list to support that as well. And that is something that we're seeing Manny has done, obviously. It's certainly got it catapulted here into this round here, round 12 of the World Championships of Warhammer. But it's tactical versus fixed. I think that they're just starting to mature, and players are going to start building into it more. I don't know what the right answer is.
I don't know the right answer is either. But
actually, I don't know if there will be a right answer. I think it has a lot to do with list composition
and mission
and meta. Yeah.
Yep, and meta and archetypes, and the depth and nuance of this game only continues, and the rabbit hole will just take you to wonderlands beyond your wildest dreams or nightmares, depending.
Cage just logged on. What's the deal? Okay, here, real talk. We're watching some amazing Warhammer, and you are too now. Welcome.
Welcome.
Talk from the table is John is just trying to figure out where that Oath of Moment is going to go. There's lots of options, almost too many options at this point. He's been like, every decision is going to be very important for this point onwards. He's got plenty of tools, but he has an awfully high mountain to climb with that score deficit. More than 30 points behind.
Yes.
He's going to have to get some in the bag pretty sharpish.
So the Centurions, one scout squad, and the Calidus all airlifted?
Yeah.
We're hearing from the chat that Manny is 29 next month.
Called it.
There you
Called it. Well, I just know these things.
Well, look, stats are stats, right? You know, it's like, but here we are. John with his work cut out for him, making that push just like we said that he would.
He has to go. No choice, no option. If he doesn't send it now, he might as well pack up. But we know he doesn't have it in him.
Well,
doesn't know the meaning of the word pack up.
No. He's just going to leave his model here after the game.
If he's packing up, he's going to try to drag as many of Manny's models as he can with him.
Yeah,
that is
exactly
for sure.
right. But yeah, he absolutely would have loved to have had something that rewards killing here, because right now what he needs to be doing is essentially actions on objectives to score cleanse, and attempting target, I believe, is the objective directly under this Chaos Lord. So very hard to accomplish. It's kind of possible. Are we able to look at a Cursed Cultist stats? Are they OC2?
They only won.
Yeah, but there's just a lot of them.
Okay.
You know,
It's technically possible, but there is not a huge amount of them on the objective. We're able to get the full top down for a moment. Just trying to think of a way or a mean he can engineer this.
A couple of great questions while we're getting to that thing is that at what point does one actually decide if they're taking fixed or tactical? That can be done when you saddle up to your table and see what your opponent is playing. If they're playing something that has basically a lot of vehicles in it, you may want to take an objective that's about killing them. You can choose that at the time.
If the Chosen aren't on the table, there's only 6 objective control on that objective. I am assuming that was the tempting target. It might very well be this one also. Those are the only 2 options I foresee, because I believe this has been easily takeable for John, and this is easily takeable.
Let me
for
check
John.
that OC on the accursed cultist.
OC is one.
Oh.
Those cultists, for sure.
Yeah,
Apparently they're OC too.
they are.
Am I
someone's
just
incorrect.
wrong?
OC2 on the mutants and the torments.
okay.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Yep, and the torments. Yeah.
So that
great
is
spot, chat.
6.
Yeah, game 12.
That is 9.
OC is 2 all the way.
Yeah, OC 9 on that. So that is
Shut me up.
far less reliable. What I was hoping there is that if he got a big enough advance, we know that you can advance and charge with the with the aggressors. If they were able to get, like, say, an 8-inch move, and like I said, 8-inch move, shoot backwards, pick up the Chosen there, charge in. And, if he can engineer it, I wouldn't put it past it. Because the only reason I'm saying we'll try and wrap these rhinos is because John has been pulling off feats of majesty. And he would have to get units here.
Let's
pretty
go.
much
I'm going to go see if we can
all the way
confirm who
around.
the tempting
And
target
then
is.
that unit would just die on the disembark from the rhino. It's a bit hard to do with the big bases that he has, because he'd have to be able to fit between the gap between the that torment and the rhino. But that could be the Victrix Guard going through there, so that could be technically possible.
Awesome comment here in the chat says, Knight likes the map. Yeah, cool setup. The terrain, the miniatures look
Gorgeous.
amazing. There's a bunch of them still left on the table. That's got to change for one of these players. And then also thanks for the Night Lords upgrade to obviously talk about the preview and stuff.
The kill team, it is amazing.
I think armies are going to get built off of that box.
You were quite right. This is the tempting target, and a big old a challenge indeed to play in that one.
It is really hard to do
I think
that.
you are right that there are routes to it. The players are just talking through what those might look like.
Well, they're all
No
pretty
easy
much-
routes for sure.
No, not at all. And I don't believe there is a way to fit Inceptors on this. I do think
I
that's
don't
probably
think almost wouldn't
blocked
matter
out.
anyway, because the Chosen would pile out of it if you
Yeah.
blew the Rhino up.
No, but the idea there is that if you could somehow engineer a kill on the Cursed Cultist, that's only OC3 on the Rhino.
Yep.
So if you get 4 Inceptors on there, I don't think you can fit 4 on there and kill the Cursed Cultist somehow, which I don't think you can. It would be a go. The only way to do that would be to have, if this model wasn't there, you could have brought in the Devastator's Choose. But we're living in reality. The reality is, I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can get enough shots anywhere meaningful to get that job done. But it has lined up the Devastator Centurions. They love this line, don't they? He puts them down on that line all the time.
It's
This is
such
the 3rd time.
I mean, because look, they're playing this dance with the Forge Fiends. These are the firing lines. As we talked about the terrain here, and all the terrain, if you're just tuning in, all these, they have plexiglass borders under them, which creates these firing lanes and paths and things of that nature. But what is blocked slightly by our ticker here, which has that thirsty, deadly demise counter on it. I'm still not recovered from that, much less all the drama from the previous game. But there's these firing lanes that go all the way down the board here, and because of this duel that's happening between things like this, we're seeing the players take advantage of it.
I think the players, here we go. The players just measuring out what it might look like if that unit was to make a bit of a run there.
So what if I came over here?
Remember, those aggressors they can run and charge because of Marnia's Calgot in that unit. When they charge in, obviously, a 2d6 roll for the charge, a d6 roll for your move. Aggressors can kind of plod at quite a respectable speed with those buffs.
So I believe he's delineated there what a max advance would be, and I believe he had the.
I mean, you could definitely get models into that fight.
there.
It's about whether that would even be enough at that point, because there's an awful lot of cultists. And if you did fight into them, there's a potential they could pile even more models onto the objective as well. So it's not a done deal. It's not a done deal.
Right.
Well, they've decided he has a big mad against that Rhino. Oath the moment going on. The Rhino.
Okay.
The Big Mad. Indeed. 5 points being gained by John for his single objective that is being held. The Callous Assassin is going to come down on that objective. He's going to hit the button on the cleanse and get a couple of points. Where he needs to do that on 2 other objectives to maximize the scoring there.
John is also talking on the tables that he understands, of course he does, but he respects the fact that he has a large primary deficit, and he feels he's about to change that.
He has to. He doesn't have a choice. But I believe he can, and he's shown us he can.
A lot of
again
things
and
have to
again and
happen.
again.
You've got to, of course, see the play, which I believe that he does, and then your dice have to cooperate just a little bit.
His dice were fire at the end of last game. Not the whole of last game, certainly the end of last game.
They definitely did
So
what they needed
what you want
to
to be
do.
doing is working out which of those dice it was that were rolling your charges, discard the ones that were rolling your plasma shots.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly.
Pity that he has discarded Bring It Down, because I do think he is looking at killing a Forge Fiend and a Rhino this turn, which would be 7 points.
Yeah, and there's also a comment in the chat. It's like, what about a Gambit? Like, there's
that would be just the greatest thing ever, wouldn't it?
I bet this room would explode.
Winning
if,
off a Gambit at the top table of the very first World Championship.
Yeah, that would be epic.
Would shake the foundations of the earth. I am convinced.
So if you are going to go for a Gambit, that means you have to basically realize that you are not going to
Score primary.
to score any primary.
Did he just roll a max advance?
I think he did roll a max advance.
Here we go again.
How?
The dice are behaving. The
How
dice
did he done this?
Again, cooperating
How
dice sometimes.
has he done this?
Well, you got to see it, you got to believe it, you got to visualize it, you got to punch through the wood.
That's a very, very important role. That could be huge.
That is,
both these players
ridiculous.
actually making great plays, recognizing things, showing the opponent new things, showing things that maybe their list didn't know they were capable of the round before or the first or second time that they played. This is the third engagement for these players. Now they have absolute awareness and precision about the list and what's in the list, but now they've got to show each other what's different in this execution.
Yeah, the Gambit thing really kind of replaces your primary, doesn't it? And actually,
it does.
It looks like, actually, if the trajectory of the way that this game is going, John's going to be in a pretty good position for primary in the late game. His problem is that he didn't score enough early on.
Correct.
But I think his board dominance is moving in his direction. It just might not be fast enough.
What can Marnius Calgar do? You see that larger
What
base?
can't
That
he
is
do?
Marnius Calgar.
Master of the Ultramarines, Marnius
This is
Calgar.
full set.
So cool.
What can't he do? He is impressing so much. This aggressor couldn't do any of what it's doing right now without Marnius Calgar.
He does. I think he slices, he dices, he punches.
Gives you extra CP.
Yeah.
He does the best
advances.
high fives in 40k.
Does. Liquidating your arms from the shoulder down with his high fives.
So this big unit of aggressors, we've talked a little bit about it before. We didn't get a chance to really see it in action in the last game, but you've got a bunch of stuff in there that makes that a very effective unit. Marnius Calgar, of course, is just a beat stick character. He's got a huge number of attacks, damage 3, really good AP, lets the unit advance and charge, gives you some CP. He does it all. He's got some decent shooting on his weapons as well. The aggressor unit themselves, they've got a bunch of weapons in there too, and you've also got an apothecary biologist, and he gives the unit, the whole unit, lethal hits.
The super juice.
Includes Marnius Calgar as well. There's also 2 Victrix Guard, which come as a 2-for-1 with Marnius Calgar, and they throw in a little bit of extra combat punch, but crucially they also give you some invulnerable saves on that unit, so all of a sudden you can start to tank a couple of hits on that unit that you maybe otherwise would struggle to take. And that unit is on its way to take out we think either the Rhino, the Cultist, or possibly both.
Meteoric Descent being employed here by those Inceptors. And we should break down the Apothecary Biologist. Basically, again, giving that lethal hits out to the entire unit. Apothecary, basically he's decided his job is to hurt.
The Harvestist, yes, as has been colloquially referred to.
He's gone to medical school and he's gone, where do I punch a man so his head explodes?
But at the same time, if you take out units around him, he gets a little angry.
He does, yeah. Absolutely. So that unit is one to watch. That is an absolutely terrifying unit, that aggressor unit, and it's on its way. We've also seen the command squad, the unit of heroes, the company heroes committed. Uriel Ventris is in that unit too. That was the hero, heroes of the previous game. The all-conquering Rhino killing squad of Ultimate Doom that made that.
There's only one more model left, guys.
For a victorious charge at the end of the game. I think in some of the highest drama of any Warhammer game I've ever witnessed. Incredible scenes.
One of the wargaming moments of all time was witnessed, and you can go watch it back.
Depending on how much time we have left in the game, I may go outside and spray paint them, and then dry brush them, and then I might start painting them today, depending on how much time we got.
No
nothing.
problem.
Like a company champion on his own, he's just going to wait for
water off Ventress's back.
John does have 2 units of superstars there with all the aggressors, Marnius Calgar, the Victrix Guard, like we were just talking about, in those heroes of the chapter.
Basically, John's dropping these guys to make a back wall for where passengers could disembark.
Very, very clever. So Paul's just got the lowdown there on these meteoric descents, but what's the deal?
Yeah, so John's specifically placing him there. So after he destroys that Rhino, he's basically creating a funnel for where the people have to be deployed out, so we can get the charge off from this unit up here, the company heroes, which includes Uriel Ventress, who we know is just an absolute.
Yeah, exactly right. So when I believe what he's lined up here is this unit of Inceptors to shoot into the Rhino, kill them. The Chosen will be getting out probably there, and then you'll have a charge straight up the gullet with the aggressors. And should the aggressors make it, they will take that objective, and they will hold it. And that will be a tempting target. That'll be a huge swing on the primary. In addition, what that will signify is a change in the fundamental complexity of this game.
The center of the battlefield just swings, doesn't it?
I don't know how well Accursed Cultists kill aggressors. I actually do not know.
Well, let's have a look at
the
those.
toughness 6, I believe, is a big issue.
Yeah, so a cursed cultist, just to give you a sense of what they do, 2 different types of models in that unit. Well, actually, more than 2 types of models in that unit. You've got mutants, which are kind of okay. They've got a couple of attacks and strength 4, but the really hard hitters there are the torments, and they have D6 plus 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, -1 AP, which can be negated.
Yep.
So you know, they're punching into probably 3 up armor saves. 2 damage is okay, so they're not ideal aggressor killers. Ideally, you'd really be wanting a slightly better AP, slightly better damage, and slightly higher strength. So they're certainly not their favorite foe, but the thing they do bring is just buckets of dice, right? Just absolutely buckets of dice. The other thing that's in that unit, which is worth calling out, is you get some power weapons effectively along with the Demagogue who comes with that unit. So there's a little bit more kind of combat punch to that unit. They are quite durable with 5 weapon vulnerable saves, so it's not a done deal, but certainly you would expect Marnius Calgar, the chapter master of the Ultramarines, along with one of the best units in the Space Marine Army, to probably come out on top of that fight. And it would not be a stretch to expect all of those models to fall.
Let me point out a couple of things here before you get into that. But with this, these are temporary placement. Actually, they're placements, but they're what John is doing is now placing these units there and then walking through the order in which he placed the units, allowing Manny to react to each of them. There was actually a question also: is that can the Inceptor land on the roof on top of the Rhino? The answer is no, because even the meteoric descent allows you to come within 3 inches. The Rhino is too tall, so there's not a 3-inch gap in between where the Rhino and the roof is.
So this is going to be a pretty cool turn, right? There's going to be a lot of combat kicking off. There's going to be loads of we might see some explosions, but we're definitely going to see some combat.
I hope so.
The expectations here by John is that the Rhino is dead, Legionaries are dead, Chosen is dead, Forge Fiend is dead. That is his minimum expectation. If he gets to Chosen as well, that will be disembarking. That's just going to be 1 unit of Chosen and 3 units of Accursed Cultists against essentially John's entire army. And so that could be just enough for John to catch up and then possibly exceed. Because right now he needs to put the clamps on Manny's scoring. Just like Manny put the clamps on his, he needs to put the clamps on Manny.
Yeah. So he measured the Centurions, I think, to make sure that they were just outside or just inside the range he needs to for all his shooting. He's doing split fire between the las cannons and the missile launchers.
Yeah.
I suppose the only thing I'm not seeing is you kind of having to kind of stop some primary scoring. You're still going to be getting this objective and this objective in Chaos hands, so it's still 10 on the board, which isn't ideal, is it?
Stopping Manny from getting a max primary is almost not a thing now. Forge Fiend survived the las cannons. It's got 1 wound left. There's a couple of bulk gun Inceptors here who can definitely have a say about that. We're going to see all the bulk guns here probably going into the Chosen. Then we're going to see a little bit of assistance either from the company heroes. They're going to pepper the Chosen if they're alive, or contribute to the Legionaries and making their life a little easier. Manny has used a CP reroll.
So Forge Fiend there, coming under fire from, we think, the Devastator Centurions at the back of the battlefield. So that's the long shot, absolutely, Adam, you were talking about there.
Yep.
That's taking shots at that. Very effective at killing Forge Fiends. We've seen those pop Forge Fiends before quite happily, but not the greatest round of shooting. And Manny actually used one of his CPs to re-roll the last save and keep this guy trucking. So he is still going. That Forge Fiend is still alive.
I'm curious that he used the re-roll there. I do believe there was other options. This is the missiles, the chest missiles, which I believe are going into the Chosen.
Yeah, they're going to a separate target, so unable to close out that unit with this unit, the Forge Fiend with this unit.
Yeah, this is
was-
just
oh,
a
man.
whole bucket of dice from these,
So
and these just pick up
this is-
units. We've
this
seen
is-
these do devastating work.
See how many saves he's got to make? This is
An
revolting.
unreasonable
I
number.
was like,
of
do you mind if I
saves.
just roll these dice?
Absolutely
Yeah,
nuts.
go,
These are the
go
first
for it.
ones. They'll be
Yeah.
saving on 6s if he's got the extra. Oh no, he's saving on 5s if he's got cover.
That is a common thing to
And
do.
there's
like
a D3 damage each.
when you take a bazillion saves or hits
So it's
or
one dead.
wounds, sometimes roll the dice
2
your
dead.
opponent just used.
2 dead
So
and a
this is
floating.
the devastated Centurions at the top of the battlefield, showing why they are
3 more fails.
such a great inclusion in
3
the
dead.
Space Marine list.
3.5. That's 4 dead total. 5 dead. Just a Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord takes 1. Passing a save. Failing a save. Another D3. Chaos Lord's taken 2. That's a pass. It wasn't actually.
Yeah.
Chaos Lord's taken 3. That should be all she wrote. See you later, alligator. You're not chosen today.
They were chosen for the attack.
They were chosen for the charge, which they didn't
Yeah.
do, and the Chaos Gods have smited them for
So I
their
think
ineptitude.
the Chaos Lord's still got there with a few wounds, or is he dead?
Is
as
he?
well,
I
do
thought
we
he was
think?
dead.
I think he's got. Was it 5 at
I
the gate?
think the
comes with?
order there, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just hanging on with a
Well,
little bit of left.
I gotta
Certainly
say,
not looking as healthy as
there's
he used to.
kind of nothing else for the aggressors to shoot, so I'm pretty sure he's not
or
safe
charge
whatsoever.
in. You know, try to get another long palm charge, get that free movement across the tabletop.
The Chaos Lord definitely needs to go, and the bolters, the aggressors want to go straight forward. But yeah, like I said, I don't think they have anything else to shoot. The bolter aggressors are probably going to go try to finish off the Forge Fiend, however. Not a great roll there by John, whatever that may have been. It's a bit rough. He does have the scouts. I mean,
Plasma Inceptor's about to fire into the Oath to Rhino, so this
There
is
we
actually
go.
the one
So
that I
that
think that
is
matters the most.
100%.
This is important then. And you talk about that command
100%
point earlier on.
hits.
He's now not got one in the bag to save this Rhino if it pops. That Forge Fiend, obviously a very important model, but actually, as far as scoring goes, maybe not that significant.
3 wounds so far. That is a terrible roll by John. That Rhino cannot die off that roll.
All the effort put into this right now is placement of the
got
units, trying to funnel in the
least-
disembarkation.
At least 2 wounds left. I think 4 wounds left.
And there's more things to shoot.
There are, but still, the Rhinos are already the bane. Already the bane of John's existence. as it
4
sits right
wounds
now.
left and 1 Inceptor dies with the overcharge.
Yep.
4 wounds left on that Rhino is not enough. So those plasma shots have been very reliable for John across this game, but just falling a little bit short there on that Rhino. Fives to wound was the
rerolling
difference there.
Can
Fives to
be
wound was
really
the
swingy.
difference.
But, hashtag Rhino meta.
That seems to be the thing.
MVP.
Seems to be the way to play.
Sometimes they just work. I mean, that is the case. Let's not forget that the Chaos Space Marine Rhinos actually have a couple of guns on them, too. It could be quality weaponry and provide that extra protection. We were asking a question towards the early on part of the stream is like, how do you get so fast with some of those units? Deploying out of them, being slingshot up the table. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So it has been pointed out that should he charge and kill the Rhino, so there is also the play that I mentioned about entirely blocking out any disembark and killing the unit outright. Not sure if he's going to have a huge charge and use those bases perfectly in order to accomplish that. But if he kills the Rhino, the Apothecary Biologist goes to OC9.
That's right.
And
Yeah, I mentioned that if the unit dies around him, but it's actually killing the unit and killing another unit in melee combat juices him up. He fills up the jug.
That does fill up the joke.
A
with
couple of
objective
AP1
control.
shots coming.
Yeah, he's just peppering so the company heroes are just peppering the legionaries in front of him. I just bought a pack of company heroes, by the way.
They're great.
I just bought them.
Again,
They're
they are
just sitting
great.
right behind us. Yeah, absolutely. going home with me in the bag.
Look at that, putting the money where the mouth is, and look,
it,
it's hard to
that's it.
deny the effectiveness of that unit.
Well, I'm hopeful that Azrael can join them at some point, and if he does, that unit is a banger, mate. -1 to wound with a 4+ invulnerable save from range. They are just going to be very hard to shift.
Back 3 Eradicators going into the Nurglings. So, pulling out all the stops, everything's got to go. Nurglings, maybe not what the Eradicators thought they were going to be doing that day, but that's what served them on the menu right in front of them.
That's served up for them. That's what the choice that they've got. Oh, terrible rolls by John. 3 and 3 on the damage.
Dice average out. It's easy for us to remember the great ones, and we saw a great one.
Yeah, so there's 1 base left for the Nurglings. The Eradicators not eradicating as well. Mind you.
Vulnerable saves are a little bit streaky. As we said,
That's right.
5-up's the most reliable roll in in
It's a
Warhammer
6
40K.
up in vulnerable
6 up.
save. So
Zip, baby.
that was 2 units of eliminators. Oh, sorry, not eliminators.
Eradicators.
Eradicators. I keep saying that. 2 units of eradicators failed to kill 3 Nurgling bases there. The 2 reasons for that was some very good saves on the part of the Nurglings, and also that D6 damage for Melter wasn't able to roll a 4-up. Each time, so each time it wasn't a 4-up, it didn't manage to outright kill a Nurgling base. So surprisingly, it's probably not the unit he wants to be shooting with Eradicators, but it was the only option he really had at that point.
He's got to get a lot of work done. So basically everything has to go. It's like if he could clear out this entire section of the board here, which is actually very possible, a lot more possible than it looks just now. Because remember, we're only in one action phase of the game. We're about to be in another action phase. My favorite phase of the game, coming up soon.
How far do you think he needs to go to get to this position?
Oh, going all the way around?
Probably about like an 8 or a 9,
That's
something
a 9.
like that.
That's a 9.
Because if he charges the Rhino and can get there, he can just fight the Accursed Cultists. With as many models as he can get within engagement range,
Well,
of course.
so, when you're moving your models when you're assaulting, there's a little bit of nuance there.
There's some terms and conditions.
There are. We're probably going to see a masterclass if he rolls the right distance here in a second. But you can move models. You don't necessarily have to start with the models in front. You can move some models behind to get in base to base that maybe create you some lanes to get you where you really want to go.
Someone has asked what is the prize support for the winner. Well, I can tell you, Weta Workshop has presented themselves here in support of this event against Workshop and the community. And what is it? What is it, gentlemen? What's the statuette?
Lieutenant Titus. Check out the Warhammer community post and the gloriousness of that statue. It is bigger than you think, I can tell you.
So it is the master sculpt of that. Am I correct in
I
saying?
think the first one off the line.
Sorry, the first one off the line, not the master. And so that is a piece of history that you'll get to take home. There will never be another #1 of those. So that is actually like such a one of a kind.
If you haven't had a look at that already, the Lieutenant Titus, you can check out on the Warhammer community website. We've got some lovely videos and close-ups.
I think you can pre-order it now.
Oh, you can indeed. Head over to the Weta Workshop website and you can pre-order it. It's one of the nicest Warhammer 40,000 collectibles ever made.
So the aggressors went into the Lord. Marnius Calgar actually finished off the Chaos Lord with
go. That's what he does.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
How he got his arms.
He's like, oh, has he got? Get me that hammer. Maybe that hammer. I've got an idea.
Casually, he did that casually. He's running over here. He's like, oh, by the way, zap.
He's not even looking at him. Just a sort of backhand headshot.
Head explodes. Mass reactive rounds. Is that another 12-inch charge? Is that another 12-inch charge?
That
Uriel Ventress again.
Company heroes.
Same guy. These guys
absolutely
are
motivated.
God.
Whatever these guys have, whatever sports shoes these guys are wearing, get me some of those.
Uriel Ventress, an
They are
inspiring character.
hungry for combat.
Indomitable. Well, we know what happened last time. So Uriel Ventress rolled a 12, and then immediately after, Marnius Calgar and the aggressors rolled a 12 also. Let's see if we get double 12s, which I could not tell you what the
we saw it before. I mean, look, history can repeat itself.
I may just have to take a time out if that happens. I may just need to leave and just recover myself.
This is going to be. This is an enormous charge. This is a really huge charge. This is almost the fate of this entire championship is going to rest on this aggressor charge, and not just the charge, but the nuance of exactly how he decides to do it. Does he go for a double charge into both those units?
Yeah.
What does he try and fight? Because at the moment, those accursed cultists are swamping that objective.
Yes.
Each one of those is counting for lots. So if he tries to engage them, they might pull into the combat. If he tries to avoid them, will he be able to get enough models onto the objective to actually claim it?
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. If they blow the Rhino up, some of the contents of it could spill out.
Oh, that is not enough. I think that is a 5. That's decidedly not. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not enough. That may be actually enough to get into contact with the Rhino. So with a move and with a pylon, he may actually be able to still accomplish this task.
Wrapping the Rhino now and destroying the contents of the disembark is probably now out of the question. But with the pylon and consolidating, definitely get enough models on the objective. All he really needs to get on the objective is the Apothecary Biologist and like 2 other dudes.
And also point out that these Inceptors with the rapid ingress cannot. I'm sorry, not rapid ingress, but the meteoric descent are not able to launch a charge, so they will not be able to contribute to that trap, that wrap and trap that we sometimes call it.
Yeah, that Apothecary Biologist, the rule you're talking about there is Vivispectrum. If this model's unit destroys an enemy unit as the result of a melee attack, until the end of the battle, this model has an objective control characteristic of 9, which is pretty much the best objective control characteristic in the entire game. So basically, this guy's collecting samples, stuffing them into that jar of objectives secured, and that's pretty much his job, right? So if they get into that combat,
jar of
it's pretty much like if they kill the unit, he all of a sudden counts as like a whole unit in his own right.
His OC jar overfloweth.
So a little bit of return of goodwill here. There was a point out that when John was moving his models into the base with that Rhino or into a contact engagement range with the Rhino, Manny pointed out that he could also heroically intervene if he wanted to, and so John adjusted his movement just a little bit to compensate.
Not that John was worried about those attacks there, but what would allow
Mobbing
a
the
huge
objective,
more amount of
yeah.
models
OC on the
on sheet and on
So
an
I
OC
think that
flood.
might still be worth a heroic intervention, to be honest.
yeah. Let
you can
Marnius
only-
do Marnius things.
You can only heroic intervene if you're within 6 inches
Ah,
of the
okay.
unit,
Yeah.
and so he just pulled Marnius out of 6 inches.
That
So it's
will
not
be
even a
it,
problem.
that will
Not even a thing.
So we're talking about the objectives. These mats, these circles you see on the tabletop, those are the control radius of the objectives. The objective is actually the 40 millimeter circle in the center of those, and the perimeter of the circle is what the interaction control range is. So if any model is on that circle, then they are considered to be in range to control, interact, what have you, with the objective. So that's what you're going to see the placement of where some of these models are.
So Uriel Ventress, after making a 12-inch charge totally unnecessarily, has dispatched with a backwards dollar sign for some reason.
He's been great, hasn't he? He's bringing so much to this army.
The Legionaries. Yeah, amazing. He is such an activator for this detachment and for this army. If without your Ventress, I don't know if you can take the Devastator Centurions.
Yeah, he makes them like force multiplies them several times over.
I mean, because
right?
they can still do what they're doing,
That's a
but they're
great spot.
changed. They're
You have
changed
to walk. You have to-
change.
like, can you imagine having to walk? No one walks in 40k.
Well, he can still go into strategic reserve.
Yeah.
And be placed on the table edges,
but not deep strike. That's huge,
it is.
right?
It's the threat of I could be anywhere outside 9 inches if you let me. I think it's amazing.
Consolidating on that center objective too. Again, there are lots of terms and conditions on how you can consolidate. That's what we saw in that last movement was.
Notably, Manny very savvily re-rolling the wound on the Forge Fiend, keeping it alive on one wound. It has not died and will not die at this stage. It's going to get to activate again. Probably kill itself, in all honesty.
Yes.
But hey, it's better than the being dead and not activated.
Take some
That is
things.
gonna
Deadly, oh yeah!
Deadly
Deadly.
Demise.
Okay. So
It's been a long
It's
time
about
coming. It's
damn
been a long time coming.
Rhino, Deadly Demise, going up to 8. Of course, and we just heard
Calgar.
Calgar.
We've already seen what he does
glory
to
hug,
rhinos, right?
taking it away.
Just lifting up the rhino and throwing it through the wall, ripping it in half. Take your pick of cinematic moment.
Yes,
Narnia's
Hollow
Calgar.
Blessed be Deadly Demise.
Fiend was quarter-inch outside of the mortal damage.
Oh wow,
Barely survived by a miracle.
Oh wow.
amazing! I wouldn't have thought it was in range. But there we go. Now we're going to see the disembark of the Chaos Lord.
Yeah, and we'll
Co.
also see some wounds dished out. So
Yes.
with those mortal wounds will actually just spill out onto the units around them. That will make both of their jobs a little bit easier on both sides of the table.
So now the Chosen and the Cursed Cultists, arguably this combination should probably go win and account for the unit.
Irish Mal 40K, in thy boom we trust. Yep,
Yes.
thanks for pulling there with us, chat. We finally got another Deadly Demise.
So now Manny's trying to place his models in such a way that it takes up all the available space on the objective. What that will mean is that it'll reduce the amount of models that John is able to get there. I still think he's able to get enough. So we're going to have, the Chosen all count as 1, and then the Chaos Lord counts as 1. So there's 6 there. 6 plus 9, he's got 15.
The other thing to bear in mind is if he starts moving within range of that unit, they are going to get to pile in and strike back.
Correct.
So
correct.
as well as the model themselves, they also project like an inch radius of you can't come and fight me, basically.
So that's 9 OC just on the Apothecary. And
There
the
he
Apothecary
is.
is going to be what allows this to happen. So the Apothecary is 9 minus Calgar's 10. 2 Victory Scar, 11 and 12. But he needs to get 16 on there to take that
Yeah,
away.
the aggressor's only 1 each.
Yeah.
Still not sure it's going to be enough.
Yep. Yeah, going up to OC9 is impressive. Don't get me wrong, that is awesome. But the
Oh,
aggressors.
never
only-
mind, sorry. Units that disembark are automatically battle shocked and
There
will
you
not
go,
count.
there you
Will
go,
not
yeah,
count
yeah,
as objectives controlled.
So that is enough then. So that is the combo. That's the play.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Rhino, make myself OC9, and then all of a sudden you've got that crack.
I mean,
Good catch,
honestly, he
good
would have
catch
loved
on
to be able to
the
kill
chat
the
there, guys.
Chosen and do that. 'cause,
I'm
you know,
sure he would have
just
liked to kill the
gravy,
He
baby.
can't have it all.
Dapper
Even
TV
the
says,
Chapter Master can't have it all.
he'll get the tempting easy now because the Chosen are battle shocked. So that's it. There's a lot of points wrapped up
That
in what
was a
just happened.
very good play. A
was a
very good play. And we
Exactly what he needed.
at the start of this turn, that looked like a near impossible task, right? But he's played that absolutely perfectly. Certainly helped by that big charge roll and that big advance roll. If
Yes.
either of those hadn't gone his way, that would would have been a much harder mountain to climb.
Change that objective to tasty target.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is going to be key here now is that John is going to go up to 2 CP before his turn, and John is going to get mobbed in response. 2 Instants Chosen still available, and 3 Instants Cursed Cultists. He needs to hold and harbor those CP, I believe.
There is a lot
for
of Chaos Pain
interrupt.
coming this turn.
Well, they're Battle Shock getting out of the transport, so he gets his objectives, but in the command phase, he'll still of Manning's turn, he'll still control it because you'll learn Battle Shock in the command phase. Yeah. So disembarking units are automatically battle shocked. I did once get my unit battle shocked on purpose because I had the Pennant of Remembrance in the unit, giving the unit a 4-up feel no pain. It was a good time.
Is that Dark Angel thing?
That's Dark Angel. How did you know? So the big issue here is John will get tempting target, Manny will get another 15 on primary.
So racing ahead on points there. It's still a huge deficit.
I already called this. As Manny getting another 15. He's 76 now to 35, but we haven't scored. We have scored a tempting target and a cleanse. Manny's doubled him, straight up doubled him.
And it's
not too many
unhappy.
turns left in the game. This is one of those situations where it is, go time, and go has been achieved.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a really that was the play he had to make, right? That was John's only route to victory. It still didn't score him maybe as many as he would have liked, and now a lot of his units are out in the open. There is a huge Chaos force just chilling out here. There's a Chaos Chosen there. There is a big unit of cultists here. There's big units of cultists over here, and they are ready to kind of charge in and do some damage. A lot of those Space Marine units are now kind of exposed, so you would expect to see some of these cultist units kind of moving forward and seeing if they can take out those. And I think what we might see this turn is just an enormous melee erupting in the middle of this battlefield.
The tide of chaos rushing into the absolute ceramite armor of the Imperium. The players are going through a bit of an exercise with our scoring device there, where they are kind of mathing out what they might expect to see or not see. So those points that you see adjusting on the screen are not actually being scored at the moment, but it's something the players are discussing. So right now, Manny and John on both are on the same side of the table with 2 of the judges. One of those judges being head judge, Justin Curtis.
John is doing a score projection right now to see what the chances he has of catching this this runaway train that is Manny Chima. He is of the opinion that is very unlikely that he does. He thinks he's going to get a 10 on primary next turn, putting him up to 45. And then if he scores another, scores a 15 at the end of the game, which is fairly doable. This position puts him up to 60. He is still 20 points behind. That means in the last 2 turns of the game, he has to score both secondaries again and again whilst denying his opponent. So even if he scores both again and again, that would only put him at about 80. That's giving him 2 5-point secondaries in turn 4 and turn 5. That only gives him a draw. I mean, so he needs to draw some 7-pointers, some 8-pointers, and to put a cap on Manny. Still. And honestly, John does not think. I'm not sure John thinks he can successfully win this game. We may be seeing a concession. I would not be surprised though if John just takes a step away from the table, conjures a line.
No, they have time
and executes.
They obviously have time. If they think there's a way, they'll play it out. Yeah. So they're actually discussing this right now with each other. They're both players are very amicable. They're looking at each other right now, looking in the eyes, looking at the table state, discussing what is possible with their models, knowing the game state, knowing that the time left in the game itself, by meaning rounds in the game, we would let them play them out till midnight if they needed it. If they had turns left in the game or fight left in them, we would absolutely want them to do that. But it's up to the players to decide, is that the right thing to do?
So this is kind of nuts. So they're both doing this due diligence, crazy, insane play where they're going through all the available secondaries there for John. They're counting out in their heads. These guys have played so much 40K, they can look at the deck of cards available, not even looking at what's on top, what's on bottom, what's in there.
Well, the max potential of scoring things.
Exactly
like
right.
And also
so
what material they have left on the table.
The combinations of 4 cards that John can possibly score, possibly pull right now, that could result in a win for him. He needs to score about 23 points, he believes, in secondaries across 4 cards in order to contest this game and make it a game. But those cards need to be things like Investigate Signals, which Manny can block. Those cards need to be things like the Defense Stronghold, which Manny can deny. Sorry, Take Enemy Stronghold, which Manny can deny. So they're looking at ways and means that John can get this done. And honestly, the lines of play that John has found in every other game so far have been exemplary.
And also, I want to point out the chat has also spotted this, is the players are having conversations about also consolidating, about how that can actually happen in the T's and C's of the
That's
frame.
The players,
Players just absolutely giving each other a hug. Claps around the room. Tournament organizers come to congratulate folks.
Straight up.
Yeah, the players were just having a conversation about, like, okay, so if we're not able to hit that objective.
Yo, guys, I'm gonna go spray paint these models really quickly. I'll be right back.
So it doesn't
I'm gonna keep the
matter
stream going.
how the rest of this turn goes. The players are convinced that it's going to be just a slugfest, huge amount of like a big chaos combat, but the combats almost don't matter because that score can't be achieved.
Yes.
So the players have called it, they've hugged it out, they've handshook. That is
the embrace.
a victory. These guys are both champions in our eyes, incredible players, but the victory has gone to Manny of England with Chaos Marines. There you go.
The very first world champion of Warhammer for Warhammer 40k, Manny Chima. Congratulations, take a bow, sir. John Lennon. You take a bow, sir, as well. It's showing nothing but absolute class and integrity at every moment, every turn, every fight phase.
Absolutely. All the players that we featured on the stream, all the nations that came in attendance. It's been an amazing run. We're actually I think we may keep the stream as live for as long as we can after we wrap up the coverage here, to maybe bring on some, the final totals after the judges have had a chance to look and verify everything from across the board and across the nations.
We still have the Age of Sigmar game happening right now, and I can tell you guys that looking across the board, it looks like we have seen one of the bells activated and a Vermin Lord just appear. So the Age of Sigmar game still has a little bit of legs in it yet. You can watch it over on the French War Games channel. Skaven Lumineth in a fight to the death for the Age of Sigmar championships as well. So do go and check those guys out if you'd like to.
Taking nothing away for either of our competitors. So first going to Manny Chima, second going to John Lennon, third going to Lucky Lucky Rig. Damn, I keep getting that wrong. But these three exemplary gentlemen have got the podium for the Warhammer 40k, and I think everybody should be proud of the representative and how people have played and represented their countries, their nations, and their people at this event. Absolutely incredible games. We saw some of the best 40k I've ever seen. And some of the moments of 40k history
amazing
and
lightning strike rolls.
Dude, I told you stories would be made. Legends would unfold before us, and we definitely saw that. Hopefully you enjoyed that as well.
And I want to tell y'all here, you had the front row seats wherever you were. Folks who are spectating here, you're spectating online, whether you're here for 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 15 hours, you got to see the conclusion of the Warhammer 40,000 World Championships, the first one of its kind of Warhammer here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to go ahead and pause this right now. We'll keep the stream running, and we'll hopefully try to get you some results around our ticker. We'll see what else we might be able to squeak in before the end of the day, but it's been an amazing time hanging out with you, Adam, and you, Eddie.
Oh, it's been so much fun, Paul. Thanks.
It's been an absolute blessing and an honor to be here and to call this with you two exemplary gentlemen. Shout out to Tech Priest Warner and the cherub himself, Alex.
And all the event staff, Notley in the chat, the players that have come on, the delegations from all the different countries that participated. It's been absolutely an honor to be here. I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's evening. We're going to take a much-needed and hopefully well-deserved break.
There's been a lot of games. I think we're going to go somewhere and talk about Warhammer for a bit.
You're exactly right. Congratulate all the players. Talk to them. Get their stories. I cannot wait to be back here for the next time we do something like this. Chat, y'all been absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We will see y'all soon. Hold tight. Look for the results. Hopefully we can bring them to you soon. Good night, everybody.
There is an artifact of power in the swamp. If we can claim it, we can cleanse the Oryx and save our cannabis. This artifact, it holds great power. Gur conspires against us, but this could change everything, Sigrun.
Success is not purchased with faith. The cost is always sacrifice.
It looks like, well, Manny won. Yeah, I mean, that's just what happens, you know. I feel like the guy in the beginning of the game had the opportunity to... The guy was going to declare a charge. And, well, he actually declared it. And then he gave him the opportunity to take it back when he realized that he was going to get countered for declaring the charge. or for landing a charge. Not even no, declaring it. But you know, because the game, apparently everybody was saying the game was gonna end right there, and you know, I feel like when you're playing amongst friends, like yeah, you let them take that charge back, but when you're playing in like world championships, man, like I don't know, bro, like I feel like there has to be like a level of severity to your actions when you're playing at that much of a level. So, like, I know everybody was like calling him good sportsmanship and stuff, but like, bro, this is the world championships, you know? Like, you gotta play it out straight. Same thing happened today in the Pokemon World Championship I was watching. The same kind of stuff, you know? But that's what happens, and the guy ended up losing. But at least he was a sportsman, right? He was a good sport about it. But like, at what point is it being a bad sport to Chaos won? At what point is it are you being a bad sport in allowing someone to let you take your play back? You know? Like, why should you be forced to suffer the consequences of your... You should be forced to suffer the consequences of your decision, of your bad play. No. But that's where I'm at with that, you know. So let me go ahead and see if we can come up with something to put on while I dry brush these models really quickly. Go ahead and pause this and turn this on. This is like the loudest day of my life. Let's make that a lot quieter. Okay. So hold up. What we're gonna end up doing right now is I gotta see if I can find a different video. Unless it's a specific video you guys want to watch. Probably some kill team stuff makes a little bit of sense. What I want to do is just... The models are drying right now. I just got done building the entirety of my Novitiates. And then I'm going to bring them inside, dry brush them, and then that's pretty much going to be it. The dry brush is going to take like 5 seconds. People commenting on the channel right now. Back to you guys. See if I can find Hill Team. Yo, somebody mentioned, what was that, Mountainside Tabletop? Let's watch one of their videos. Oh, they've got Orcs versus Admech. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's what's one of the older videos, so we don't feel like we're pulling from their views. See, I don't know if you guys want to be looking at what I'm looking at right now. This one was 9 months ago. Is this on this is Into the Dark? Let's go Warp Coven. I got a Warp Coven army. I kind of painted it just like theirs too, actually. I think this paint scheme right here is just so nice.
Of the award-winning
Oh.
chef-approved always pan that sold out over 30 times.
Oh, really?
Hidden amongst the corridors of an abandoned Imperial ship.
Alright, hold up. I gotta adjust. Give me a second. Guys, I'm not a good streamer right now. One day I'll be able to say, or you guys will tell me that I'm a good streamer now. One day. Let me just adjust this so it looks as clean as possible. Word. And then I'm gonna take the link right now, guys, to this video, and I'm putting it into the those in the chat so you guys can subscribe to their YouTube channel. This is great kill team content. Let's go ahead and pause this music and turn this on.
A coven of warp-touched space
face sorcerers carry out a sinister ritual. Once discovered, an intrepid Space Marine force, descendants of the feral Space Wolves, move in to eliminate the threat. Can this team of cunning Phobos Marines put an end to the treacherous rituals of the Thousand Suns before it's too late? Find out here on Mountainside Tabletop.
What's up, y'all? Vic and I are back with another Kill Team Battle Report here, back into the dark, and my Warp Coven are making a comeback, making their second appearance here. My full roster here is 3 Sorcerers, 1 Rubric Marine Gunner with a Soul Reaper Cannon, 1 Rubric Marine Icon Bearer, and 2 Zangers, 1 Champion with a Great Axe, and 1 Fighter with Zangor Blades.
Yo, I'm gonna go see if the things are done drying from the paint. I'll be right back.
Infernal Bolt Pistol and Force Staff. Their Boon of Tzeentch is Crystalline, which gives them a spicy 2-up save. And for Psychic powers, I've given them the Destiny Discipline. This Sorcerer is going to have a Warp Flame Pistol and a Force Staff. Its Boon of Tzeentch is Patron of Destiny, which is going to give it the chance to make some extra rerolls, and for Psychic powers, it's got the Temperic Discipline. This Sorcerer is going to have a Force Staff and Prospering Khopesh, making it more melee focused. It's going to have the Time Walker boon, which adds 1 inch to its move characteristic and gives it an extra die when it fights in combat. And for its Psychic powers, it's going to have the Temperic Discipline. Alright, for equipment, I've given my leader a Sorceress Scroll with Infernal Fire. Since I'll be going up against an elite team, this will just help me target fire one of Vic's models down. I've also given a high capacity magazine to my leader and icon bearers, which will give them ceaseless on their Infernal Bolt weapons.
I've seen all this before, so there's nothing that really worries me, but the melee bird can definitely chew through some wounds, and with that extra movement, can easily get to some points and probably score some tac ops too, so really that's my main concern, and I'll just have to keep an eye on him throughout this battle.
Yeah, he can be pretty spicy.
Yeah, spicy bird. Hey everyone, Vic here, and today I'm back with my Phobos strike team. Last time they got trampled by the Blooded, and I'm hoping for a better result today. So my list is pretty similar. I've got a Saboteur, Marksman, Veteran with Lethal 5 and Balanced, a Helix Adept, a Commsman, and now, new to my roster, a Reaver Sergeant. Everyone's got their standard loadout, and the Reaver has been equipped with the Special Issue Bolt Pistol and Combat Blades. Since they've buffed Terror to cost 0 AP, you can just assume that I've used it every turn, and I'm not going to say it every time I activate it. So, obviously, the guard action in close quarters is a bit of a stealth nerf to the Marksman, because everyone can kind of track target now, but being able to do it from concealed is still really strong, so hopefully I'll be able to maintain some control of the board with just the threat of his shot. For equipment, I've given a Grav Shoot and Shock Grenade to my Sergeant, and Smoke Grenades to my Commsman and Helix Adept.
So a lot of these elite Phobos Marines here have really, really good shooting, but one stands out in particular, and that's the Marksman. A lot of these operatives on Vic's team are really, really good at shooting, but the Marksman here is particularly spiced. So if he gets put in a well-defended spot, I'm going to have a really hard time killing him, and if I can't kill him, I'm going to have a really hard time just moving around the board in general. So let's hope you misplay and let me shoot you.
Today's battle is going to take place on the Channels map from the new Critical Operations pack. The map is made up of 6 kind of smaller rooms with one really big room in the center with a ton of doors, but not where you'd really want or expect them to be. The mission we're playing today is Capture. So if you control an objective at the end of the turning point, you score a victory point and it'll stay under your team's control until an enemy captures it.
Next, we roll off and Vic wins. He opts to be the attacker, and then we set up our barricades and operatives. In the scouting phase, Vic chooses to place an extra barricade, and I give myself the option to change an order marker in the first turning point. This gives Vic the initiative for turning point 1, and the battle begins.
All right, top of turning point 1, and neither of us reveal any strategic plays.
In the target reveal step, I reveal C's access point. To score this, I need to have operatives near a specific access point at the end of the game, and I'm going to select the access point leading into the room with objective 3 to be that access point.
It's the season for holiday deals right now at Best Buy.
All right, first activation of the game. My Saboteur is going to dash, move, and open this door. Obviously, I'm not concerned about that Zanger, so might as well just clear the way.
All right, now my other Zanger is going to open this door and move up into the big middle room.
Gotta get the YouTube membership, turn off the ads.
All right, now my Medic is going to open the door, move on to objective 2, and then throw a smoke to shield the way for the Marksman.
I'm going to move up this Zangor to get on objective 4.
All right, now my Reaver is just going to move, dash, and strategize to give me an extra CP.
All right, now I'm going to activate this Bird Sorcerer. I'm going to move up to this door, and I can just make it because I have an extra inch of movement from Time Walker. Then I'm going to open the door and cast Ephemeral Instability to slow down all of Vic's operatives for the rest of the turning point.
All right, the Commsman is going to move up towards the door in the center. I'm not going to open it here because it might just invite an attack from Brad.
I'm going to move up this Icon Bearer onto objective 6 and then pass out the rest of the turn. There's no need for me to guard here since there's no possible way that Vic can get into line of sight.
All right, now my Vet is just going to move to the back of the board and guard. I'm far enough away from the door that I'm going to stay obscured here and can keep a pretty good cone of fire in the main room.
I'm going to activate my Sorcerer and move up.
All right, now my Marksman is going to open the door and track target. Going to move back a bit so I stay obscured and concealed.
All right, now I'm going to move up my Heavy Gunner and then just stay concealed. Really here, I'm just trying to set up plays in future turns. And then since Vic is all out of activations, I get to go again. And I'm just going to move and dash my leader into this top room near objective 3. And that's the end of the turning point.
All right, so at the end of turning point 1, Brad wins 3 points from primaries and I just win 2. I've got some big plans over on my side of the map, so I'm just going to let Brad do all his creepy rituals over there while I try to infiltrate the board.
Yeah, you probably noticed that Vic and I really committed to opposite sides of the board, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I've got some unrevealed tac ops that are just going to really let me play defensively in the room with objective 3, and I think if I can hold that area down, I have a really good shot at maxing out my secondaries.
At the top of turning point 2, we both go up a command point and I win the initiative roll. I play Bolter Discipline and then Omni Scramble on this one sorcerer that's kind of isolated from the rest. This means he won't be able to activate until Brad's 5th activation at the earliest.
That's pretty annoying. I'm going to spend 1 CP here to play Psychic Domain, which just means that all of my sorcerers can cast 2 psychic actions in this turning point. For Tac Ops, Vic reveals Shock and Awe, Eliminate Guards, and Executioner. For Eliminate Guards, he marks the Zanger on objective number 4 for the kill, and for Executioner, he tasks his Reaver Sergeant with killing the same Zangor. For my Tac Ops, I'm just going to reveal Escort Operative, and I'm going to choose the Melee Bird Sorcerer as the operative that needs to be escorted.
What in the world is going on with these ads, bro?
All right, well, I basically have to decide if I'm going to save my medic or
What
score a bunch
was
of points.
that?
And I really don't want
Oh
Brad
my
to mess up my
gosh.
ability to score the points. So my sergeant is going to charge into this Zangor and pretty easily kill them. Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
take 4 wounds in the process.
People got
so I score a point for
imaginations.
eliminate guards and a point for execute, and assuming I continue to hold this objective, a point for shock and awe later on.
All right, for
Oh,
my
there goes
first
that.
activation, I'm going to activate my leader. He's going to move, open this door, and then cast Doombolt on Vic's Helix Adept. I really want this kill here. I'm going to roll my dice.
Here we go, the first Brad roll. That's never good. Yup.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
Absolutely disgusting roll.
Come on!
So I guess I'm going to spend a CP to reroll my miss here and really try and confirm the kill. And luckily for me, I wiped this Helix Adept from the face of this map, so he dead. I don't want to leave my leader exposed though, so I am going to spend another CP on Capricious Plan just to move him back into safety and change his order to Conceal.
Well, that was tragic. Literally just needed to roll a couple threes there, but what are you gonna do? So now, feeling like I have to play a bit more aggressively, my marksman is gonna move out onto objective 2 and track target. Luckily, I can do this while remaining concealed.
I kind of just want to wait it out and see what Vic does, so I'm just gonna pass this Zanger.
Alright, well, my Saboteur is gonna move, dash, and then guard near this door by the Reaver. Just trying to get into a better position for some spice next turn.
Now my melee-focused Bird Sorcerer is going to switch to Conceal and cast Ephemeral Instability for free because he's within 6 inches of my Icon Bearer. Then I'm going to move up behind the barricade near Objective 3 and perform Sorceress Ritual. This has me reveal a faction tac op, and I'm going to have to do this a bunch more times throughout the game to score more points.
Alright, well now my comms man is just going to open the door and move back to stay obscured and guard. This feels pretty aggressive, but I kind of have to make something happen because it feels like I'm losing.
You're literally winning, but... Alright, my Icon Bearer is just going to move up near this door. I'm not going to cross the threshold because I'm scared of track target, but at least I'm in a better position going forward.
Alright, well, it looks like my vet can be in a little bit more optimal position, so I'm just going to move a tiny amount to stay obscured and have a bit more of a wider angle for his guard.
Alright, and I have 2 double activations here, and controversial move, I'm gonna double pass. I really just don't want to run these operatives up into the middle of the board and then die to track target, and I think they can pretty convincingly hold this objective marker down here, so yeah, I'm just gonna double pass, and that takes us to the end of Turning Point 2.
Alright, so at the end of the Turning Point, Brad scores 3 for primaries, bringing him up to 6, and I score 3 for primaries and 1 more for Shock and Awe, bringing me up to 8. Honestly, I know I'm ahead on the scoreboard, but losing that medic really hurts, both in terms of board control and durability.
Yeah, I do feel really good about having that early kill. However, losing that Zangor was kinda bad. Going into this turning point, I didn't really care if he died, but once you revealed your tac ops, I realized that I basically just gave you 2 really easy points.
Yeah, I basically traded my medic for a Zanger and 3 victory points, which is not bad, but it hurts.
That's a pretty good trade.
Yeah.
You win with points, not with medics. Alright, before we go on here, we just want to take a sec to thank all our amazing patrons. Like always, up on the screen are the names of our Mountain Goat and 1HP Gang supporters. All the support that the patrons have given us has been really invaluable, and it's really been making a difference in our ability to put out videos as often as we have been lately. If you yourself are interested in becoming a patron, you can check out all the available perks over at our Patreon page. The link's in the description of this video, and every single patron really makes a big difference to us. So to all our patrons, thank you. And now back to the game.
If you want the performance of stainless steel, the versatility of cast iron, and the convenience of non-stick...
You got some cooking streams on here.
Alright, top of Turning Point 3, and there's a huge initiative roll here. Luckily, I win it, and Victor thinks that he lost.
Yeah, I do.
Even though he's winning. For strategic ploys here, I'm going to play Psychic Domain again. Vic's going to spend 2 CP, 1 on Vanguard and 1 on Bolter Discipline, and then he's going to scramble the same Sorcerer that he scrambled in the last Turning Point. He nominates that scrambled Sorcerer as the target of Execute, and the Zanger next to him as the target of Eliminate Guards. Then I'm up first, and I'm going to activate my leader. I'm going to move up to this door and then use my Sorceress Scroll to cast Infernal Fire on Vic's Marksman. Then I'm going to attack using Doombolt. Unfortunately, I don't get a great roll like last time, and I don't confirm the kill.
I'll try to re-roll one of these saves just to take a few less wounds, but couldn't even get a 3 here.
Then again, I don't want to stay out in the open, so I'm going to use Capricious Plan once more to move back and position more strategically.
Alright, well now my Reaver is going to move up, open the door, and throw her Shock Grenade on the clump over by Objective 5. Got a roll for each of them here, and the Sorcerer and Gunner are both -1 APL for the turn, and the Zanger unfortunately gets to keep both his actions.
Okay, well, I'm going to activate my Icon Bearer now. They will move up to this door and take another shot at Vic's Marksman. Not a great roll, although I do have Ceaseless here because of my equipment. And I'm going to use my last CP to reroll one of my other misses. But unfortunately, Vic saves just enough to survive at 1 HP.
That's kind of wild.
This member of the 1 HP gang is brought to you by Todd Lambert. Thanks, Todd. Then I slam the door.
All right, well, that's starting to feel a bit better. So my Saboteur is going to dash, plant his mine by this group of guys, and then move and hide away near the commsman. Phobos players know what's coming next.
Okay, well, I'm going to do something spicy here. I want to lose as few units as possible to this mine, so I'm going to activate my Zanger and charge Vic's Reaver. I deal 5 damage, but then I just die. Pretty bad roll, honestly.
Yeah, that sucks for you, and I get to score a point for eliminate targets here, but now my Reaver's injured, crucially.
Yeah, I don't know if that was quite worth it. It would have been really nice to get the kill, but it is what it is. Dice be dice.
All right, well now my comms person is going to use their comms array ability and instruct the Saboteur to detonate the explosive. I get a pretty great roll here, spend a CP to improve it, and get an extra crit. It brings down the Sorcerer, which is absolutely huge, and then I'm able to move and dash the commsman to contest this objective number 5.
Well, it really sucks that this heavy gunner only has 1 AP. Since Vic's concealed, I can't shoot him from where I am, and I could move up within 2 inches of him to be able to shoot, but then I don't have the AP to actually shoot. So I'm just gonna move up and hope that that lets me get a shot off in the next turning point.
All right, well now, surprise of all surprises, my marksman is gonna track target and pass.
My Bird Sorcerer is gonna cast Sorceress Ritual once again, bringing me up to 7 VP, and then slightly reposition.
All right, well now with the last activation, my veteran is just gonna move and dash up to this door by all the creepy chaos stuff going on in there.
And that's the end of the turning point. So here, Vic gains 4 victory points for primaries and 1 from Shock and Awe, which sets him at a total of 14. I just gained 2 for secondaries, and I'm up at 9. I am feeling okay about this though, because a lot of my TAC Ops are gonna score at the end of the game, so I'm not out of it yet.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy turning point. To be honest, they've all been kind of crazy turning points. I think I'm finally feeling good in this game, but it's still definitely a 3 result possibility here.
I'm starting to do some math, and I'm realizing that I really need to adventure beyond this ritual room if I'm gonna pull out a win here. Vic's just done too much damage in the bottom left area of the map, and I need to take some additional primaries back in turning point 4, or else I'm just gonna straight up lose.
Before we head on to the final turning point, just want to take a minute to let you all know that we're streamers now. We've started doing some live streaming on YouTube, playing games of Kill Team, and hanging out with the community, and we'd absolutely love it if you drop by. So turn on notifications so you catch them all, or hop into our Discord where we'll announce all our streams as they're happening. All right, well, this video is scheduled for January 31st, which means this is the very last day to get the 1 HP Gang Class of 22 shirt. This interests you, it's now or never, and if you watch this video 24 hours too late, you missed your chance. Turn on notifications next time.
Exactly. Just playing, guys. You do whatever you guys want to do.
That's it. Turning point 4.
Turning point 4. All right, well, at the top of the turning point, I've got a pretty decent lead in both victory points and command points.
We roll off for initiative, and Vic wins.
I'm going to play Bolter Discipline and scramble the gunner to make sure he stays there until I have a chance to kill him. I'm also playing And They Shall Know No Fear so that my Reaver is a bit more powerful in her inevitable combat. As far as TAC Ops, we're both fully revealed, but I'm going to nominate this gunner as the execution target for my Reaver. If I can get that done, I have a chance for a perfect game here.
Perfect game. I really gotta get this YouTube membership so we can cut out the ads.
Well, with my first activation, I'm gonna charge in.
I'm gonna do that after this video, or after I'm done streaming, I'll get one.
I'm gonna try to not kill him here, so I'm prepared to re-roll any hits into misses if I have to, because my Reaver needs to get this kill. Obviously, my confidence was misplaced. I get a terrible roll, and Brad does really well, so the gunner only takes 3 wounds, and the commsman takes 7. That sucks.
We both think we're losing here, which is funny. But I'm gonna activate my Icon Bearer and open this door. Then I'm gonna make another shot at the marksman, 3rd time's a charm. And yep, I do get a kill on the marksman, finally.
Nice.
Then I'm just going to move back to the door that's going to score me points at the end of the game for C's access point.
All right, well now my vet is just going to move, so he's still just controlling objective 2 and then guard and wait for Brad to come through the door.
All right, well the time for that is now. I'm going to activate my bird sorcerer and move with Time Walker 7 inches onto objective number 2. I'll spend another AP to open the door that Vic's vet just closed on my way. And once I arrive at the objective, Vic's vet makes an Overwatch shoot against me. Luckily, I save all his hits with a dank roll, and then I target the Reaver Sergeant with Flux Blast. I roll this attack, score 2 crits, and luckily Vic's leader is dead, so he won't be able to max out his secondaries.
All right, well now I have to make a decision. My Saboteur can either charge the bird or charge the gunner, and either one is going to come down to me surviving one more attack from Brad to either win or tie. I take my chances with my vet surviving an attack, so my Saboteur is just going to go and lock up this gunner.
All right, well, this is basically my last chance here. I'm going to activate my leader and then cast Sorceress Ritual for free because I'm still within range of my Icon Bearer. That brings me up to 10 VP. Then I'm going to dash and shoot Vic's vet. If I don't get this kill, I lose. So I roll, and it sucks. So the vet only takes 3 wounds. Then I move back to the secure access point door, and that's it. One more activation, my gunner, he can't do anything useful, so he's just gonna take off his helmet and return to dust. And that's game.
All right, well, at the end of the 4th turning point, I score 3 more points to get to 17. Brad scores 6 to get to 16, and it's a big W for the Phobos.
Yeah, that felt like a really good game, but also very frustrating.
Extremely frustrating, yeah, for both sides, I think.
It's really hard to play against Phobos with all the tools they have to just shut you down.
Yeah.
Anyway, good game, Vic. Even though I lost, that did feel like a satisfying game. Frustrating, but satisfying.
Fun. That's the ball you can ask for.
Thank you all for watching this video. If you did like it, hit that like button. If you did sub it, click that sub button. If you did comment it, click that comment button. I guess that's it, right?
Yeah, see you later.
Peace, y'all.
Realized I was on mute. But yeah, so I got one more model to dry brush over here, and then it'll pretty much be done. What I'm gonna do real quick is just put on some music really quickly. Alright, let's just play some of this stuff over here. I'm gonna keep this as quiet as possible, and then we'll just finish out the stream with this. You see, what I'm doing when I brush this on my hand, like I'm looking to see that, see how like a little bit of paint comes off? Like that's what you're looking for. If it's like super white like this, it'll destroy the model. You just want it to go off the brush like this, like really light. You know, I like to brush the top with, at the end of it, I'll brush the top again, just so that the top of the model is a little bit more bright, and it gives it like a top-down type of brightness, so it gets darker. You know, as you go down, I feel like it just looks a little more realistic. It looks like the sun is shining, or a light is shining down on the model. So all I'm doing right now is just taking just regular white. You know, I'll have to show you exactly what paint it is. Got this. I put this inside of here, and it's good paint. You know, they sell dry brush paint, but it goes by too fast. I use up most of it pretty quickly. So I'd rather just buy more paint and just do this with it. Works the same for me. I do think that the dry brush paint does work a little bit better though. It's much more consistent, but you know, I don't like having to brush away that paint, you know. Dry brush paint's a bit expensive. Alright, so that's it. So let's just go over each individual model. And that would pretty much be done for the day, but noticing that we just spray paint black underneath this, and then we dry brush, literally drying the brush here, so that we can just barely put the white on the model, which creates like depth for the model here, so that when we paint this, next time we're on stream, it gives it a natural contrast between the whiteness of the white and then the black of the spray paint underneath. And this is the Novitiates, guys. I'm excited to play this team eventually. We basically just got, this is an all melee focused team. If they don't got swords, they got something that's dealing a good amount of melee damage, or we have these flamers right here that are dealing fire damage. really the only guns we have, and our plasma that's worth anything. But we'll see. One day, once I play a game with this, I'll be able to make a strategy guide for them. Let me go from there, guys. But that's going to be it for the stream, guys. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Hope you guys enjoyed everything we did today. Always remember, eat healthy, okay? Work out every single day. And most importantly, you guys got to remember to believe in yourself, alright? Peace out, people.